Sound Booth Theater presents a deep dive into Earth Force, Relict Legacy, Book 1. Written by Shemer Kuznets, narrated by Jeff Hayes. Featuring Justin Thomas James as Diamond, Will M. Watt as Elzygo, Dory Sachs as Lana, and Annie Ellicott as Nori. Sound design by Ahmed Mahmood. Music by Aaron J. Morton. Directed by Jeff Hayes. Chapter 6. New Faction. There was no sudden pressure, no momentum gluing them to the walls. One moment they were docked inside the ship, and a moment later they were flying above the Earth.
Inertial dampeners,
Bulko grunted.
What the hell do we need these harnesses for, then?
The monitors on the central dais flared into life, showing the land below. Lana's face sobered as she saw the signs of devastation. Many buildings were burned. Some collapsed. Many streets were clogged with crashed cars, and only a few parks survived the calamity, looking like small specks of green in the scorched background.
It's worse than I'd thought,
she said grimly.
Let's head to the old stadium. It's the closest shelter, and I'm fairly well known there.
All right,
Nori said.
Give me a second to figure out how to fly this thing.
While the woman was busy working her light console, Nathan's head turned sharply toward the central dais. He felt a signal that escaped the notice of the inexperienced navigator. He concentrated briefly and rotated his wrist.
Hey, what's that red dot?
Lana pointed at one of the monitors.
Can't talk right now. Too busy making sure we don't crash.
Good idea.
That's interesting.
Bulko looked intently at one of the screens and tapped a few keys on his own light console.
The shuttle's floor can open up so you can bring in large items. The carrying capacity is also impressive, over 5 tons. Now, let's see what makes it tick.
His thick fingers tapped a few more keys. Compared to Nori's graceful fingers, Bulko's looked like he was banging thick sausages on a keyboard.
Here we go. Interesting. Very interesting.
What is?
The power source. Says here it uses tech void power cells. It's currently at 90%. That should be enough for several days. Looks like it usually recharges when it's docked, but the ship is running on emergency cells itself. We don't want to exhaust those.
So, when the shuttle runs out of power, we can't fly anymore?
Looks like it. I'm guessing the ship's cells are larger and can probably recharge the shuttle once or twice, but then it'll dry out and we won't be able to access its systems.
We're nearing the old stadium. There's something going on down there. Switching to the main display.
The largest monitor flickered, and the picture changed to show the isolated stadium. The tall walls were reinforced, and all the doors and windows were barricaded with steel plates.
Hey, what's that?
Lana frowned. She tapped her console, and the view zoomed in on one of the walls. A humanoid warped, with a swarm of metallic tentacles instead of arms, was flailing at the wall. Everyone in the shuttle could clearly see large cracks opening up. Text appeared on the screen.
Warped. Level 6.
That's the highest level warped I've ever seen. They keep getting stronger. Everyone down there is going to die. They don't have anything powerful enough to take down a monster like that.
No, but we do. Bringing us down. I'll shoot it from a distance. You get your puncher ready and cover me if it gets too close.
Too bad the shuttle doesn't have any weapons. Or that mechanical arm. With its 2-ton lift capacity, we could have simply plucked the brute off the shelter and dropped it to its death.
If we had waited for you to install it, the warped would have made it in by now. We have to help them.
The shuttle touched down barely 50 meters away from the warped. The monster kept flailing its tentacles at the walls, oblivious to their approach. Nori readied her disruptor and stood beside Bulko. They nodded to each other and opened the door. The warped looked even bigger than she'd first thought. Standing nearly 2.5 meters tall, its tentacles had already made a small hole in the wall. They were flailing inside, straining to enlarge it. Sounds of gunshots came from the shelter, but if the bullets did anything to hurt the monster, it didn't show it. Nori readied her weapon and took careful aim. A narrow beam of blue light shot out toward the creature. Halfway through, the beam started diminishing and it impacted the monster as nothing more than harmless light.
God damn it.
What happened?
The pistol's range is too short. We have to get closer.
I'm not a big fan of leaving our flying fortress.
We have to, or those people are going to die.
A door at the far side of the stadium opened, and a single man carrying a rifle came out. He put the weapon's stock to his shoulder and took a shot. The warped's head snapped sideways, and he turned angrily toward the shooter. Dropping his gun, the man sprinted away from the stadium. The warped drew its tentacles from the hole it had made and started chasing after him.
Hey! Over here!
What are you doing? Are you trying to get us killed?
It's our chance! If he can draw that thing over to us, we don't have to face it out in the open.
Good thinking. Hey, you! Over here!
His voice was much louder than Nori's. The man's eyes were drawn toward the people standing in the doorway of the flying saucer, and he nearly faltered his step. He recovered quickly and angled toward them, a glint of hope in his eyes. The monster, however, was closing in fast.
He's not going to make it!
He's halfway there. I'll have a shot in just a few more seconds.
She's right. He's not going to make it.
What is he doing?
Nori's grip tightened on her weapon. The warped almost caught up to the escaping man, but Bulko got there first. Using his momentum, he punched forward hard. The puncher discharged, adding hundreds of kilos of force to the strike. The warped caught the metal fist full on his chest. The impact stopped it dead in its tracks, and it took several faltering steps back to regain its balance. That was all the time the escaping man needed. He reached the shuttle and threw himself in past Nori.
Bulko, duck!
The beam punched a fist-sized hole in its armored body, and 2 tentacles fell off and continued writhing on the ground. The monster looked at the smoking hole on its side, then looked straight at Nori. It lifted its head and let out another skin-crawling roar.
You just made it angrier!
Nori's eyes hardened. She shot the disruptor again and again. Blue rays of destructive force hit the giant, burrowing smoking craters all over his body. But the monster ignored the damage and charged. Nori shot 3 more times, hitting the warped's thick armored leg, causing it to go limp. But that barely slowed it down. At the last possible second, she hit the door's control, closing it in the monster's face. Loud metallic bangs sounded as the warped pounded on the shuttle's hull.
Bulko's still out there! He's going to die!
Nori looked at the weapon in her hand helplessly.
I hit it at least 10 times, but it didn't go down. Maybe if I... Ow!
The shuttle suddenly jerked upward, sending everyone hurtling to their backs. It then dropped, and a loud crunching noise ran through the interior.
My back.
Nori stumbled to her feet and looked around the shuttle. A flight console hovered in the air above Nathan's prone body. Nori looked at the young man as he struggled to stand up.
What did you do?
Nathan ignored the question and grimaced as he slowly stood up.
What was that crunching noise?
Probably my spine. Hey, you, guy. You all right?
The man they had rescued looked disoriented.
What happened?
That's what I'd like to know.
Nathan gave her an apologetic look, then turned to Lana. The woman's eyes widened.
You dropped the shuttle on top of the warped?
Nathan nodded shyly and pointed at one of the screens. It showed the shuttle's exterior, where the crushed leg and head of the warped were the only things protruding from under it.
Well, it could have been smoother, but overall, not bad.
What's going on? Who are you people?
The man they rescued seemed to be getting his bearings.
Are you aliens? Did you come to abduct us?
On the monitor, a tentacle started quivering on the ground.
We're humans, like you. But explanations will have to wait.
She limped to the door and pounded on its control. Bulko was standing several meters away, looking at the ground below her apprehensively.
Nice move, kid. But it's not dead yet.
It's about to be.
She circled the shuttle and aimed the disruptor at the head of the warped. Its eyes suddenly flew open and it started to thrash and bite the air. Unflinching, Nori aimed carefully and shot. The beam bore a small hole, revealing a metal skull. The monster kept flailing wildly, trying to escape. Nori clenched her jaw and kept on shooting. Beam after beam burrowed into the monster's skull until the fifth one punched through the other side. And finally, the creature stopped moving. Nori shot it one more time for good measure.
About time you fucking die. You better stay dead if you know what's good for you.
Damn, girl. And they say I have a temper. Nice job.
Is it safe to come out now?
Lana asked from the shuttle's doorway. She got out, followed by Nathan and the man they had rescued.
Martin. Human. Level 0.
What's going on? Who are you people?
Martin, right?
Bulko crossed his arms.
I think you know me.
The man's eyes bulged.
You're that gang. I mean, you're Bulko, right?
That's right. These kids and I got ourselves an alien spaceship, and we were just taking it out for a test ride when we saw the warped attacking your walls. Want to fill us in on what's been going on?
Martin shook his head.
An alien spaceship. That's unbelievable. Thank you for saving my life.
Why were you out in the first place? Didn't you know the monster was there?
Of course he knew. The people inside realized they couldn't get rid of it, so I'm guessing Martin's job was to lure it away. Am I right?
Yeah. Everyone was afraid. We had warped attacking the stadium before, but they were mostly level 2 or 3. A few gunshots were usually enough to send them running. In the last week, the sightings became scarcer, but the warped we did spot seemed bigger and stronger. We had a level 4 one who almost scaled the walls. We wasted most of our ammo trying to keep it from the top. It eventually gave up and left on its own. But that thing...
He looked with apprehension at the crushed monster.
...was different. We've emptied a shotgun magazine straight to its face through the hole and it just spat out the slugs. I've never seen anything like it. When we realized it was about to breach the wall, I decided to try and lure it away. I never thought it would catch up to me so fast. If it weren't for you guys, we'd all be dead now.
That's why we're here. To help out. Now, take us to your leader. I always wanted to say that.
You're looking at him.
That's why I volunteered to go outside. I am responsible for everyone's lives.
Oh. So I guess... Hello?
So you're that, Martin.
Nori looked him up and down in interest.
We're here to help.
That would be great. Can you get us weapons like your gun? Oh, with a few of those, we could keep the shelter safe.
Sorry, I only have this one. But it wouldn't help you either way, as you have to be level 5 to use it. No, we're going to teach you how to take care of yourselves.
Level 5? How on earth did you manage that?
Like this.
The woman said, and kicked the corpse of the warped. Pale light emerged from the dead monster and streamed over the 5 people.
Tech extraction commencing. Extracted 0.6 tech. 10% success rate. Pi tech 700.
Holy crap. Says here I gained 12 tech as a first-time bonus. I'm level 4.
Looks like the creature has more tech for his level than the dead pilot. I only got 0.6 this time. I'm still level 3, damn it.
Me too.
I got 0.9 and made it to level 4 as well.
She glanced at Nathan, who nodded at her.
Nathan, too.
Nori looked at Martin, who stood vacant-eyed, staring at something only he could see.
You might want to select the level suppression racial trait. It's not as good as the others, but it'll allow you to use weapons that—
I'm done.
Martin said, and looked at her with a smile. Nori blinked in surprise.
Already?
It's just like creating a computer game character. I used to be a gamer, so it wasn't hard. I took the tech Infusion boost. That should help me level faster.
But you won't be able to use any alien weapons. I guess we can continue looking for something with lower level requirements, but I don't know if we can do it fast enough to protect your shelter.
Can I see that?
Martin pointed at the disruptor at her belt. Nori shrugged and handed him the gun. To her surprise, the man grabbed the weapon like a trained professional. He drew back a latch she never knew existed and examined it carefully. Then he aimed at a tree 30 meters away and fired. The blue energy hit the tree and bore a finger-wide hole through it.
How the hell did you do that?
The man grinned at her.
I selected Justicar as my path. It allows me to use all personal firearms and security systems. The disruptor's prerequisite was only a score of 5.
What? My score is 10, but I had to reach level 5 to use it.
That's weird.
No, not really. My path allows me to drive everything, even alien ships, but it wasn't really meant to handle firearms.
What path did you take?
Navigator.
I see. It makes sense. You had to reach the secondary set of requirements, the one that is determined by pure level instead of a path score.
You sure know a lot for someone who just leveled up.
Told you already. Used to be a gamer. Don't be down. You came flying in this ship. If I tried it, I probably wouldn't even be able to turn on the coffee machine.
I guess you're right.
By the way, did you know the gun only has 20 more shots left in it?
No.
Yeah. Says so right here on my HUD. 20 out of 80 remaining. You better use it sparingly, unless you have more power cells.
We don't.
That's too bad. It's one hell of a weapon. Here you go.
He handed her the disruptor back.
No, you keep it. You're obviously better suited to wield it than me, and it can help protect your people.
I'm betting that if we can get back to the freighter, I can use the workbench to fashion some power cells.
Ship? You have another one of those?
Yes, it's a crashed spaceship. We found a ton of alien stuff there. And the shuttle, we even—
That's enough, girl.
Volko looked at Martin.
Think you can keep your people safe while we're gone?
The man smiled and tucked the gun into his belt.
With this alien ray gun? You bet. At least until it runs out of power.
We'll see what we can do about that. When you kill a warped, make sure to share the tech you extract from it with level 0 people. The first time seems to grant the most tech. Once you have several more people with paths, surviving should become a lot easier.
Yeah, you could start using our old technology again. Like computers, security cameras, and other stuff.
That would be immensely helpful. We're lucky you decided to drop in on us. I don't know how to repay you. Can I invite you inside? We don't have much food left. Thank God we almost don't need to eat now. But I'd like to invite you over for a thank you dinner.
Nori and Volko exchanged looks, then both shook their head.
Another time. There are more shelters that could probably use our help, and at the rate the warped are getting stronger, we shouldn't delay. We'll try to bring you more power cells if we can get them.
Thanks. That would be great. You've given us hope. We thought we were done for. Thank you so much. What do you call yourself?
Ha! Haven't thought about that one. But I like having a team name. How about the A-Team?
Please, you look nothing like Mr. T. How about Earth's Defenders?
So now you think you're in a Marvel movie? I got one. Volko's Roughnecks.
Definitely no. But I like Nori's idea to have Earth in the name. Maybe something like... Earth Force. Sounds like Air Force, but cooler. And people will trust us.
I like it. And you're right. Everyone loves the Air Force.
I don't. I was a Marine. We hated those guys. The Navy was better.
Well, unless you can sail a spaceship through water, we're going with Earth Force. You got that?
Yes, ma'am.
A text message flashed in front of each of them.
You have joined the Earth Force faction.
Martin smiled good-naturedly as they bickered.
I see the faction's name next to your normal information now. Thanks again, guys. You're always welcome in our shelter.
You're very welcome. Now, everyone back to the shuttle.
Nori suppressed a grin and followed the shorter woman back to their vessel. Once everyone was safely fastened in their harnesses, they lifted off, leaving the old stadium behind.
Let's head to the Grand Mall next. Diamond, the shelter leader, is a buddy of mine. He's usually up to his ears trying to keep the place from falling apart. I'm sure he could use a bit of good news.
All right.
What's wrong?
That red dot is back.
Everyone turned to look at the flashing red dot. Nori's brow creased in concentration.
It's a signal, but I'm not sure from where.
Sighing mutely to himself, Nathan's finger twitched. The monitor's display zoomed out, revealing an image of the Earth. The red dot appeared well above the atmosphere, and a dotted red line stretched down from it to the planet.
It's a signal from space.
Nori bit her lip.
The line's trajectory leads straight to us. I think it's a flight course. I can follow it up.
You want to take us up into space?
Not really. It's the lower reaches of the thermosphere, about 100 kilometers above us. The shuttle can make it up there in about 5 minutes.
What if those are the aliens who robbed the freighter?
I don't think that's the case. The signal carries more than navigational data, but I can't read it.
She looked up at the shorter woman.
I think that's your department.
Lana looked alarmed as everyone's eyes settled on her.
Oh, right.
She manipulated her light console, frowning as she read data only she could see.
Well, girl, what do you have?
It's a recorded message.
Nori and Bulko exchanged puzzled looks.
Can you play it?
I think Yes. Playing it now.
Greetings, Sollings. The XR Trade Station congratulates you on taking the first step into the enlightened universe and would like to offer our wares and services at a bargain price. All are welcome.
What the hell? It sounds like a douche salesman ad.
I, for one, am looking forward to getting some answers. I think it's safe to assume that dot does not belong to those marauders, so I say we go check it out.
Sounds shady to me, girl. But if we're ever going to change things around here, we're gonna have to take some risks.
I don't know. I didn't sign up to go into space.
It's all within Earth's atmosphere. You can stay in the shuttle if you'd like.
Nathan, what do you think?
Lana looked at her friend. The young man looked away shyly and nodded.
All right, I'm in.
All right. Here we go.
Nori's fingers ran across the console. As before, there was no sense of sudden inertia. Instead, the monitors zoomed out, showing more and more of the Earth's curvature. In less than a minute, they passed through the clouds and kept on climbing. Their eyes remained glued to the screens as the Earth shrank beneath them.
I see something.
Lana pointed at one of the screens with a trembling finger. Her other hand manipulated the console and the picture zoomed, revealing a long shape with a rounded blob at one end.
It looks like a bong! Ha! It's a space bong!
They continued flying, and the shape became bigger and bigger.
My God, it's huge. It must be hundreds of meters long.
It's 200 meters long.
Nori said, checking her interface.
The bulb at the end is about the size of a city block.
Our sensor detects no propulsion systems other than basic stabilizers. This thing can't fly on its own. I think.
Are you telling me it's a space station? Here? Orbiting Earth? How the hell did it get here?
No idea. I can only tell you what the shuttle sensor picks up, and I'm still struggling to make sense of what I see. This thing gives off a huge power signature, which stands to reason based on its size.
They better be able to answer our questions. The course leads straight to the tube part. Looks like we can dock inside.
Are we sure we want to do this, guys? Meeting actual aliens, I mean. What if it's a trap?
That would be some trap. To put this huge chunk of metal here, on the off chance we natives steal an alien ship and come to them. I say let's give it a try. Worst case, I'll use the puncher and we can run back to the shuttle.
Okay, then it's settled. I'm taking us in.
Lana still looked unconvinced, but didn't try to protest again. The shuttle adjusted course, aiming for the side of the station's main tube. They passed dozens of extended airlocks, reaching out into space, but instead of docking, Nori flew the shuttle closer to the tube's base. A hangar-like door opened, and the shuttle flew through. The interior was a dark and empty chamber. Luckily, their shuttle was equipped with external lights which illuminated the bleak and empty metal walls around them. They touched down gently, alone in the vast hall.
All right. Who's up for meeting our new neighbors?
Chapter 7. The Space Station. The shuttle's door opened, revealing the 4 crew members huddled together. They disembarked, glancing nervously around them. Nori's jaw was clenched as she took in the dark emptiness, and her fingers itched for her missing disruptor.
It sure is hot in here.
Lana said lightly, breaking the tension. Bulko frowned.
You're right. Must be at least 30 degrees Celsius in here. That's about 90 for you non-technical types.
So hot and dark. We're off to a great start.
You can stay in the shuttle, Lana. It might be safer. You too, Nathan.
No. We've made it this far, and I'm not staying behind.
Then, let's go. Everyone be careful, please.
They stepped away from the shuttle. Their craft's light extended only several meters before it was swallowed by the oppressive darkness. Nori moved ahead of the group.
Hello? Anyone here? We got your message.
There was only silence and darkness. The 4 companions exchanged nervous glances. Then, an ominous sound filled the dark void. It was a clicking, fluttering, utterly alien sound. Lana grabbed Bulko's hand as her heart beat frantically. The engineer looked down to the woman at his side, but said nothing. Nori could feel her own heart pounding rapidly, but she stood her ground and called out again.
We're humans from Earth. We got your message and would like to, trade.
The clicking sound grew nearer, and out of the darkness stepped a huge figure. It was over 2 meters tall and as wide as Bulko. Metal plates and delicate-looking contraptions were strapped all over its body. Its head emerged from the shadows last. The creature's head was a horrid skeletal mask, with long, oily braids descending behind him. Its mouth had 2 opposing jaws, and when opened, as it was now, it spanned over half its face. It looked down at them. Then its jaws extended, releasing the ominous rattling sound, much louder than before.
It's going to attack!
Bulko pushed Nori aside and charged at the creature.
No, wait!
Nori yelled, but she was too late. Bulko had already committed. He drew back his arm holding the puncher, ready to put his full momentum into the attack. However, things didn't happen as he expected. Before he could make contact, the creature's hand snapped forward, and with its much longer reach, it grabbed the man by his throat. Without a discernible effort, the tall alien lifted the Level 4 engineer and slammed his back against the shuttle hull. Nori yelled and charged at the creature from the back. She pivoted on one leg, putting the entire force of her body's spin into the kick that caught the monster on its back. A second hand whipped back, found the woman's throat, and slammed her against the shuttle as well next to Bulko. The 2 strained against the creature's hold, but even with their combined strength, they couldn't make the arms budge. It was like his limbs were made of pure steel. The creature leaned forward until its face was centimeters from the large man. Bolko looked back at him defiantly, though his face turned ashen. The creature then turned its attention to Nori. Its small, beady eyes scrutinized her flushed face, and it leaned in even closer. Its jaws opened, nearly touching the woman's face. Nori headbutted it. The creature's head snapped back, though its hold on the humans didn't loosen. It blinked several times, then the clicking sounds came out again, longer and louder than before. A metal plate on its arm opened and a flexible tube with a thick needle at the end came out of it, moving as if it had a life of its own.
No!
Nori managed to cry chokingly as she doubled her efforts to escape. Her eyes looked everywhere for help and found Lana's. The younger woman and Nathan cowered fearfully, holding each other. When Nori's eyes found hers, Lana felt a sudden surge of courage she didn't know she possessed. She couldn't just stand there and let her friend get butchered while she did nothing. She looked around and found a metal rod lying on the floor. She grabbed it with both hands and threw it as hard as she could. The needle-headed snake had nearly reached Nori's throat when the bar hit the alien on its head. It bounced off harmlessly, not hindering it in the slightest. The needle plunged into the woman's throat. After several seconds, it withdrew with an audible suction sound. Nori's struggling ceased immediately, and her body became limp. Bolko thrashed wildly and somehow managed to slightly push the hand that held him and yelled,
You'll pay for this, you bastard!
The creature let go of the limp woman's body and grabbed the man with both arms. The metallic tube came out again and plunged into the man's thick neck without hesitation. Bolko's thrashing weakened, and he too was released to slide limply to the floor. The creature whirled around to face the two remaining humans. Lana and Nathan looked fearfully at each other and stepped away, but the creature seemed content to stand its ground. Lana's voice quivered as she looked at it.
We came in peace after receiving your message, but it was a lure to get us here, wasn't it?
The creature just stood there, eyeing her up and down with obvious interest. The dark-haired woman gulped and gathered her courage.
Well, it's not going to work. You might be stronger than us and have all this alien technology to support you, but we're humans. You don't mess with us and get away with it.
The creature took a threatening step forward and his two jaws opened, emitting the ominous death rattle sound. Lana paled, but stood her ground. She held up her hand and the creature stopped to look at it.
I'm not finished yet. As I've said, we might be weaker than you, but we have something that you don't.
The creature looked at her expectantly. Lana smiled at him.
The numbers to create a distraction.
The creature whirled back on its feet, just in time to meet Bolko's fist. The puncher discharged and hit the alien's chest with enough force to punch through a brick wall. The monster was hurled off its feet and his huge bulk was thrown 5 meters away, skidding on the floor. Bolko grabbed the metal bar Lana threw earlier.
Nice one, girl. Come on, we have to take it out while it's down.
He took a step toward the creature that seemed to be dazed. More clicking sounds came out of it.
Stop!
Nori came slowly back to her feet.
Don't attack it. We've made a mistake.
She staggered toward the now alert creature and knelt beside it.
We are truly sorry, Mr. Alzygo. It was a huge misunderstanding. Will you accept my apology?
Lana's eyes widened as she heard the woman call the creature by its name. She narrowed her eyes as she focused on him.
Alzygo. XR. Level 8.
Yes, I know. It's our fault. We've never met an alien. I mean, we've never met someone outside of our own species before. We are truly sorry. How can we compensate you?
Bolko took a step back.
Holy hell. It talks!
Lana and Nathan exchanged glances.
You can understand what it's saying?
Yeah, The thing he injected us with somehow made us able to understand him. He's offering to inject you and Nathan as well, so we can all communicate. I think you should do it.
Lana blanched, and Nathan paled visibly.
You mean with that snaking needle thing?
Yes, but now that I think of it, it didn't hurt a bit.
She's right. Didn't feel a thing.
The creature, Alzygo, rose to his feet and looked at the two students expectantly.
All right, just be gentle, please.
She felt a little ridiculous telling a huge, nightmarish-looking alien to be gentle with her, but she couldn't help it. To her surprise, the creature nodded and approached her slowly. He reached a hand toward her neck, and the tube extended out of it. Lana gritted her teeth, expecting pain. But to her surprise, all she felt was a slight pressure against her skin. Suddenly, she felt woozy and her vision swam. She dropped heavily to the floor and struggled to maintain consciousness as unknown signs and symbols sped across her view. She was vaguely aware of Nathan dropping to the floor next to her. After several moments, the dizziness passed, and Lana had to squint to reorient herself. Nori offered her hand, helping her up.
That was interesting. I took a close look at the process. As soon as his needle reached your neck, a small hole opened on its own, and the needle just slid inside.
My neck did what?
That is a standard connection port, miss. Every infused race has them, though not everyone has them on their neck. My brother once told me of a race of sentient blobs. He had quite an experience trying to find their ports, though my brother does tend to over-dramatize his stories.
Lana blinked in astonishment. The creature's urbane speech was so different from its feral appearance, it was distracting.
I'm sure it was, interesting. So, you injected us with something that translates your language?
Indeed, a basic language pack. Not as efficient as a full translation implant, but it will do for now.
Wait, then how come your message was in English?
It wasn't. Every ship's standard communication module is capable of multi-language translation.
Handy.
Quite.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and this place? As I already said, it's our first time meeting an alien.
Of course. However, the shuttle bay is hardly the place to conduct a proper introduction. Follow me, I'll show you to the main deck.
He took a step toward the darkness. Nori hesitated and exchanged a look with Bolko. The large man pressed his lips tightly, and his eyes narrowed in suspicion, trying to penetrate the oppressive darkness.
That's very hospitable of you. But my friends and I can't see very well in darkness. Can I bother you for a little bit of light?
Bolko wiped the sweat from his neck.
And a little less heat?
Alzygo smacked his head in a very human-like manner.
Of course. Forgive me. I've been all alone on this station for so long, I forgot others might have a problem adjusting to my people's natural climate.
He raised his right hand, and a small light console appeared above a metal plate. His long fingers tapped a few keys, and bright lights turned on all around them. Lana felt a touch of gentle, refreshing wind that made the oppressive heat more bearable.
There. Better?
Much.
Alzygo led them through the large docking chamber. It opened into a wide corridor that extended to the sides.
This is the main docking tube. It can easily accommodate up to 50 freighter-sized ships, and the dock at the end can even accommodate full-sized cruisers.
So it is a space station.
Of course. I already told you that when I welcomed you aboard, just before you attacked me. I guess you didn't understand me back then, did you?
Sorry about that.
No need to apologize. Again, no harm was done.
The large alien waved his hands placidly.
Yes, this is my space station. It took me quite a few years to accumulate the capital and investors required to purchase it. My brother has a bigger one, and his supports a very successful mining colony.
He's the pride of my family, really. But I'll show them who's the more accomplished sibling. As the first station on a newly infused planet, I'm bound to make a fortune.
Lana looked down to hide her smirk. The horrifying-looking alien was turning out to be a bit of a chatterbox.
Here we are.
They had reached a massive door at the end of the tube that was as wide as the corridor. Alzygo waved his hand. The door split into 4 parts that withdrew into walls, revealing a huge open space beyond them. The station's main deck was one giant sphere, easily half a kilometer in diameter. The space was divided into levels by round walkways and promenades, surrounding a hollow center.
I'm planning on shops, hotels, and other services to fill up this place.
Alzygo gestured around them.
But for now, there's only my residence and shop. Follow me, I'll show you around.
Wait, are you the only person living here? How is this possible? Don't you need a crew to run the place? Make sure everything keeps working?
You are correct, miss. A station this size usually requires several dozen maintenance personnel, but in my haste to be the first to make it here, I had to compromise. Here we are.
They reached a building complex on the other side of the empty promenade. It was a single metal block, about 10 meters across, reaching 20 meters high, all the way to the platform above. The tall alien opened the door and showed them inside. A pile of junk littered the room, reaching up to their shoulders. Alzygo paid no attention and stepped on bits of metal, cords, and other alien-looking junk. At the middle of the pile was a shallow crater lined with what looked like aluminum foil. Alzygo stepped into the crater and sat down, lying against the elevated ground.
Please, join me.
The 4 companions exchanged bewildered looks. Nori descended to the alien nest and tested the aluminum layer. She sat down and looked up at her friends with surprise.
It's soft.
Of course it is. As do most enlightened species, the XR enjoy life's comforts.
The others entered the crater and sat down, leaning against the sides. Lana bounced her hand on the silvery substance, finding it both supple and springy.
So, now that we're all comfortable, I would like to once again welcome you to my space station.
Alzygo seemed very relaxed sitting down. One of his jaws hung loosely open.
I wonder if you'd be willing to answer something that has me quite perplexed.
Of course. We'll tell you what we can.
That is good. I've been orbiting and observing your planet for the past 150 of your solar days, and during that time I detected no signs of communication of any kind. Your entire planet seems dark and unresponsive. I've broadcasted my welcome message since coming here, but so far you were the first Sollings to come and visit. Why is that?
Sollings?
Your star system is listed as the Sol system, so that would make you Sollings, would it not?
No, we're humans. Our planet is called Earth. Sol is the name of our system's star.
I should make a note to update my message then. Thank you for letting me know. So, can you please enlighten me as to the reason why no one else has come or responded to my communications?
Well?
Lana looked questioningly at Nori. The woman nodded, motioning her to proceed.
Everyone is mostly struggling to survive. Our technology has stopped working, so we can't communicate with each other, much less with the space station. And even if we could, we don't have the means to reach this high in the atmosphere.
What?
The alien sat up abruptly, startling them. Bulko eyed him cautiously, his puncher at the ready.
I was told your race has spaceflight capability. What is this nonsense about surviving? Your technology should have gone through the transition period before becoming tech-based. Why would you say such things? Is this some sort of weird human sense of humor?
Nori stood up and stared unflinchingly at the riled-up giant.
She is telling the truth. Our race is capable of spaceflight, yes, but it was pretty much the pinnacle of our technology. This is not something the average person can achieve on his own. We've only sent a few manned vessels to the nearby planets.
She paused and eyed their bewildered host as he digested the information.
She was also not lying about our struggle to survive. Whatever happened to us, this infusion thing, it caused a lot of people and animals to mutate into horrible monsters that are called warped. They kill indiscriminately, and until now, we had no way of fighting back. Our civilization as a whole is ruined. Our governments crumbled, and those of us who survived managed that by hiding in fortified shelters. It is a hard existence for us down there, so I'm sorry if it's not the lucrative business opportunity that you had envisioned.
The tall alien stared back at her for a few moments, then slowly dropped back to a sitting position.
Please, forgive my outburst, miss. I have invested every pie tech I'd saved, collected every favor I was owed, just so I could be the first to reach your planet. But this is no excuse. What you say is most peculiar.
He shook his head and rubbed his bony forehead.
Newly infused worlds usually go through a natural, gradual transition period. The population is slowly acclimated to tech and learns how to adjust their technology accordingly. Warped are sadly unavoidable, but the process is slow enough to counter it, and in those rare occasions when a warped is created, the inhabitants' technology has advanced enough to take them down before they feed and evolve too much. I've heard tales of planets who, like yours, were infused abruptly, and the horror it caused. But like everyone else, I thought it was just rumors and stories. I am truly sorry. This was probably a most horrifying ordeal. You have my deepest sympathy.
It was not some fluke of fortune or some natural occurrence. Earth was intentionally infused. We found a downed freighter, and the logs stated as much. Someone sent that ship, and several others, on purpose. I want to know why.
I have no clue. This is highly unusual. Theoretically, it's possible to infuse an entire planet, but the amount of pie-tech required to do that would be astronomical. Such a thing would be extremely frivolous. Why would someone go through the effort of infusing an entire planet? However, assuming your information is correct, such an action would account for the horrors you described. Sudden and rapid tech infusion would have dire consequences.
Nori held up one arm, closed her eyes, and took in a deep breath. When she opened them again, her voice was calmer.
We're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. To tell you the truth, we're still struggling with the idea of the existence of other intelligent life forms outside of our own. I'm afraid there's a large gap in our knowledge. Can you perhaps tell us a little bit about all of this? What is infusion and how can we fight it? What is tech and pie-tech? And what the hell are the warped?
The tall alien seemed to shrink in his seat.
I'm really not the type of person to handle first contact situations like this. When I had to inject you with the translation pack, I just assumed you had somehow missed the upgrade. I never imagined this would be your first encounter with the enlightened universe. I'm afraid I won't do a very good job of introducing you to it. My brother...
Your brother isn't here, but you are. From what I've gathered, you took a risk coming here. You wanted to be a pioneer, seize an opportunity in a new land. That takes guts. But you have to be willing to push on through the hurdles. So tell us, please, what is happening to us?
Alzygo looked at her for a long moment, and then nodded slowly.
You are right, of course, miss. There are things you should be made aware of. Where should I start? The tech is everything.
He looked around at the staring humans as if his simple proclamation explained everything.
Every spacefaring race in the galaxy knows of the tech and relies on it, but no one knows what their origin is. The most advanced races scientists have spent lifetimes studying it, but no one truly understands how they work. The most common notion is that they were created by an advanced ancient race millions of years ago to facilitate integration between life forms and technology.
But what is it, exactly? Are you talking about nanobots?
Alzygo shook his head.
Nothing as crude as that. Tech are small machines, yes, but they can be smaller than atoms or as big as molecules. They're like space dust, invisible yet everywhere. They travel across the galaxy and infuse everything they come in contact with. Biological, technological, photonic, silicon-based, everything. Only a small amount is needed to infuse a living entity. But the tech makes adjustments to their brain and sensory organs, allowing them to receive and view information directly. That's how I gave you the language pack. It was just a simple information transfer.
Lana sat up suddenly.
So that's why we can suddenly see information about ourselves, our strength, agility, and such.
Precisely. The tech creates a standardized baseline that carries over across species. For example, looking at you, I see that human average strength is 2. There are species whose strength starts at 50, but even then the ratio will remain the same. If a human reaches the same strength score, he'll be comparable to those beings.
How does that work? My strength started at 3, and I was the strongest person around. Now I'm at 10. How can I be 3 times stronger than before? I didn't grow extra muscles.
You did, in a way. And as I said, there are different types of tech. The ones used to support muscle structure are the biggest. They settle in your tendons and muscle tissues and strengthen them. Similarly, other types of tech can increase cognition, improve brain receptors, etc. With tech, anything is possible. The only real problem is obtaining more of them.
How so?
Each living creature releases its tech when it dies. If somebody touches the body, they can extract some of it. However, since the tech adapts to their hosts' bodies, a relatively small percentage is compatible with the new host. The rest is released to the atmosphere. There are tools and technologies that can refine more tech from the dead, but it is still a limited quantity.
That sounds gruesome.
It is gruesome, miss, and often a cause for violence. That is why almost all enlightened species have strict laws against killing other sentients for their tech. There are space farms that cover huge spans of space, filtering the ambient tech, but that type of mining operation is immensely expensive. The easiest and most conventional method is to extract them from the warped.
Nori leaned forward.
That leads into my other question. What exactly are the warped?
The tall alien slumped his shoulders in defeat.
You have to understand. Usually the infusion process is slow and the body is given time to adjust. But when it happens abruptly, the tech has a symbiotic relationship with the host. They facilitate unified access to information and technology. But if the integration goes badly, if the host is unable to take control, then the tech will. Without a conscious mind to guide them, the tech seem only interested in reproducing themselves. No one knows exactly why, but it seems that new tech particles can only be created within the warped bodies. To that end, they alter their host's body to a shape best suited to grant them what they need: prey and technology. Given enough time and resources, the warped can reach high levels and become a serious threat.
Bulko and Nori exchanged worried glances.
I think it's safe to assume that's what's been happening on our planet. The warped were all level 1 at first, but in the last 2 weeks, we've seen more and more higher levels. Today we even encountered one who was level 6. We barely managed to take it down.
Level 6? While humans are only level 4?
A worried frown crossed the alien's skeletal face.
Oh, that's troubling. But the difference in power between levels increases exponentially, especially after every 5 levels. You should be careful and inform the other humans to hunt down the warped before they become a more serious threat.
We can't! We empty our guns at them and it barely slows them down. They just heal and keep on coming. Nori found an alien pistol that did a good number at them, but she was the only one who could use it, and it's nearly out of energy.
Their host seemed to shrink at the engineer's outburst, but he straightened up at the large man's final words.
I might be able to help with that. May I see the weapon?
Unfortunately, I gave it away. Why?
I was curious to its rank.
When I looked at it, it said it was rank F5.
Not a bad place for hunting low-level warped.
So, can you explain what that rank means?
Of course. Technology can come in all sorts of grades. The higher the grade, the more efficient the technology. A high-grade shield will be stronger than a low one. Similarly, a high-grade weapon will cause more damage than a lower one. The grades from lowest to highest are...
Let me guess. F, E, D, C, B, A, and S.
That is correct, miss.
Lana stared at the navigator.
How did you know that?
It's a standard power ranking in games and comics.
I do not know what that is. The tech universal properties no doubt use a common term for your species to understand. There is variation within each rank, which are usually denoted with numbers. A weapon with a number 5 means it's at the average power level for its ranking. It is peculiar, though, that you could operate it as a level 3 navigator.
I selected a trait that allows me to do it. But how can you tell my level and path?
I want to know that as well. Earlier, you also hinted you can see our strength score.
Alzygo tapped his temple.
I have a sensory enhancement implant. It allows me to perceive more detailed information on the people I'm doing business with. It also lets me understand alien languages without having to resort to my tech for a rudimentary translation. I have some extra implants in my stock. I can sell you some if you'd like.
We don't really have money. And I doubt you'd be interested in Earth's currency.
The alien smiled at her with what the woman assumed was supposed to be a reassuring smile, though his widely spread double jaws made for a terrifying sight.
I apologize, miss. I skipped answering another of your earlier questions. You also asked to know about pi tech. That's quite simple. Pi tech is actually a single tech particle. Think of it as a nanite. On its own, it's nearly useless. You need about 100 of them to infuse a person into becoming a level 0. 1,000 pi tech constitutes a single tech, and tech is the basic component that counts towards level up. 1 tech will grant you the first level, 2 for the second, 4 for the third, and so forth.
Alzygo paused, looking over his human audience, letting them absorb the new information.
When you extract the usable tech from a slain creature, a very small amount that is completely generic remains behind. It will always be below 1,000, or else your body would have absorbed it as tech.
We found a dead Inthydlan pilot. We extracted several thousand pi-tech from his body.
That stands to reason. In addition to the amount extracted, you have also obtained his own funds. Pi-tech is the galactic standard currency. They are used to buy anything from food to equipment to even ships. The ambient particles in the atmosphere slowly seep into technological components and make them compatible with infused people. I believe that also explains why all your native technology was rendered useless. The infusion process affects technology much faster than biological beings, which explains why you suddenly have issues operating your Earth technology. Anyway, since you have killed a warped, you have obviously accumulated a small amount of pi-tech. You can use that to trade with me.
Why?
Why what, miss?
Why do we need any of this? Why does everyone in the galaxy value tech so highly? Why can't we live our lives in peace, like before?
Alzygo looked at her steadily and raised a finger.
The most advanced technology in our galaxy is also the smallest. Tech supports and powers all enlightened races' technologies. It allows achievements and technological leaps that would be otherwise impossible. Individuals become stronger and healthier as they gain more tech and raise in levels. The dependency on mundane sustenance is lessened. Life expectancy extends by 100-fold. With enough tech, you can survive exposure to space, move planets, and even come back to life. Some extremely high-level beings are rumored to have existed since the dawn of time. The possibilities are endless, but gaining tech can be difficult, which makes it such a high-demand commodity. Few are brave enough to travel to worlds where the warped are abundant to hunt and harvest them. Trade is a much more commonly accepted method. Rich merchants can afford to infuse the Pi-tech they've earned to gain levels. It is also customary to gift Pi-tech. Parents often purchase the first few levels for their offspring when they reach maturity.
I see.
Nori tugged at one of her dreadlocks, mulling over the new information.
Is this why you came here? Because our world is filled with warped?
Yes. Hunting warped is a lucrative business. Newly infused worlds have a higher warped population than normal, though I didn't expect it to be as severe as you described. It was my intention to capitalize on your planet's newest resource, though things haven't turned out as I had expected.
Nori furrowed her brow.
Doesn't that answer the question, who would go through the trouble of infusing our planet? They basically turned us into a warped farming ground.
Alzygo shook his head.
Impossible. That would be economically illogical. The funds required to infuse an entire planet would far outweigh any possible warped farming potential. Besides, there are forces out there set to monitor and enforce galactic law. They would never agree to such blatant interference with uninfused planets.
What forces are you talking about?
What forces? How can you not know?
He stopped abruptly, and his shoulders sagged. After a moment, he looked back up at them with an anxious expression that seemed almost ludicrous on his monstrous face.
Please, I have never imagined your species would be caught so unawares, that you'd be so oblivious. I'm really not equipped to introduce you to the enlightened universe. The transition phase, it can be overwhelming. Let us stop here. Please take some time to digest everything I told you. And I, too, need time to think.
He produced a thin, translucent disc, seemingly from thin air, and offered it to Lana.
Here, this data module contains many common facts, information on races, basic technology, cultural protocols, and other such things. It will let you obtain a basic grasp on the state of the galaxy. Study it, and you'll be better equipped to handle our next conversation. Now, is there anything tangible you'd like to acquire from me?
Nori closed her eyes and stood silently for a long moment. When she finally opened them, she stared hard directly into Alzygo's beady black eyes.
Weapons. You want to trade? We need as many weapons as you can get us.
I can certainly help you with that. I have a wide assortment of personal weapons, ray guns, even plasma rifles, but those don't come cheap. But that is a moot point. Your people should be too low level to use them anyway. I only have a single crate of zappers. They're only F1 rank, mostly used to scare away wildlife rather than battle the warped.
I take it that a level 1 human can use an F1 ranked gun?
Right you are.
We'll take the whole crate then. It's better than nothing. A bee's sting is annoying, but 100 can kill. How much?
Alzygo looked at her. He looked perturbed, and his jaws pressed upward in sort of an alien frown.
This is hardly the proper way of conducting business, miss. First, there's the negotiation process, then the contracts, then...
We don't have time for that. While we chat, more of us die down there. How much for the case?
Nori, let me handle that.
The taller woman frowned at her.
We don't have time for that. We need to—
Nori! Go and walk around the station for a bit. I assume that would be all right.
She looked at the alien, who nodded at her.
All right then. You too, Bolko. The two of you need to take a little time off, outside.
But—
I insist!
Bolko and Nori exchanged puzzled looks.
All right, girl. We'll do as you say.
Bolko got to his feet.
Just don't take too long. Nori has a point.
I know. I won't.
The two left the apartment. Lana turned to the bewildered alien and smiled.
Now, where were we?
Can you believe that, girl?
Bolko huffed as he and Nori scouted the mostly empty platform.
Lana's not as simple as she appears,
Nori said with a curved smile.
She might seem timid most of the time, but there's fire inside of her.
Still, kicking us out like that? I'm a 40-year-old man. She could be my daughter.
I'm sorry. Before, when you told us about your family, it was a tight situation. I'm truly sorry for your loss.
Not your fault. It's those damned aliens who sent the tech to us. That's what brought on the calamity. I'm sure you lost people you loved too.
Nori kept her eyes down.
I moved to the US from Brazil to teach martial arts. My whole family is still there. I lost contact with them when everything stopped working. I hope they're all right, but I know there's a good chance they didn't make it.
So, why didn't you take the shuttle there? With its speed, you could have made it in an hour or so.
Everything just happened so fast. We've just managed to fly the shuttle. Then we found Martin and we had to save him. How can I leave everyone behind to run to the other side of the continent, wasting our shuttle's remaining energy, knowing there are people here who need help? My parents would not have approved. And besides...
She lowered her head.
I know better than to get my hopes up.
Bolko shook his head.
Damn. You're tough, girl. You're right, though. We need to do what we can. Use the home field advantage. Once we stabilize the situation here, we could use it as a base to spread out from and bring order to everyone else.
That's what I've been thinking, too. What's taking Lana so long?
Hey, guys!
Lana called out from the other side of the promenade, waving at them across the open chasm.
Come over here. I've got great news.
The two hurried over to her. Lana and Nathan approached to greet them, followed by the tall XR who was carrying a large box.
Alzygo agreed to sell us his crate of 20 zappers at cost, 200 Pytech apiece. He even threw in 20 energy cells, plus another one that matches the disruptor. He's willing to take a loss to support our cause.
That's nice of him. Before we leave, I'd like to understand the value of Pytech a little more. Can you give us an example of common items cost?
Of course, miss. I believe the galaxy's average income is around 4,000 Pytech per month. A single Pytech will buy you a light snack, while 10 will suffice for a decent meal. You can get lodging for 50 Pytech per day, or 500 for a luxury one. A common land vehicle can go anywhere between 10 to 50,000, and the smallest of spacecraft usually starts at 100,000. Decent ships' costs are in the millions, and warships in the billions.
Alzygo looked at the navigator expectantly.
I see. In that case, I think we owe you thanks for the price of the zappers.
Oh, that's not all! Tell her, Alzygo.
The alien clicked his jaws rapidly.
The zappers are an immediate but mediocre solution. They will not be sufficient for your planet's needs, but there might be a better way. You mentioned you have guns, and Lana explained they shoot accelerated projectiles. Such a thing wouldn't harm the warped for long. Without tech, the physical impact alone would be recovered quickly. But what if you could create a tech-infused ammunition? I believe even a level 0 human would be able to use your guns to great effect, and I just happen to have the right equipment to help you with that. But there is a small problem.
What problem?
I have in my possession a fabricator. It's a highly advanced piece of technology, expensive too. It can quickly fabricate common, uncomplex components like your ammo cartridges. However, it requires two things: a blueprint and resources. You'll have to supply both.
Where the hell are we supposed to come up with an alien blueprint?
We got it covered already. Apparently, engineers are good at this sort of stuff. Alzygo says any decent engineer should be able to come up with a workable blueprint. They just need a little time experimenting on a workbench. And it just so happens... Get my drift?
Nori looked at the box full of weapons, at the giant alien carrying it, and at the smiling, confident young woman in front of her.
Yeah. Not bad, Lana.
Hey, I'm the expert, remember? Now pay the nice alien.
Alzygo graciously accepted the crystallized Pytech Nori gave him and showed her how they could be merged together or separated to an exact amount. After paying for the zappers, they had 3,000 Pytech remaining.
Do you have something a little more powerful? Up to a level 5 would be nice.
Unfortunately, no. Most of what I have requires a specialized path to use, or has severe level requirements. However...
He contemplated for a moment, then held up his arm, showing her a small plate.
This is a tactical dart launcher. It's been a while since I had to use it, and there's little point of having one inside of a space station, so I'd be willing to sell it for 1,000.
What does it do?
Nori asked, frowning as she scrutinized the unassuming metal plate.
Observe!
The XR produced a piece of metal, seemingly from thin air. He threw it high and pointed his arm at it. A small dart shimmered into existence above the launcher's pad and shot into the air. It curved in its flight and hit the target before it started to fall. There was a loud detonation, and the target disintegrated into dust.
All right, that's pretty cool. How many darts can it carry?
It doesn't. It generates a dart every hour and can hold up to 4. Not as dependable as a proper disruptor, but quite effective. The best thing about it is that it scales with the wielder's level.
I'll take it.
The alien peeled the plate off his arm and slapped it on the woman's outstretched one. Nori felt a slight pressure as the plate curved to fit her slender arm and her vision blurred for a moment. Once it cleared, she saw she had a small crosshair in the center of her vision.
You can make the crosshair appear or disappear at will. All you need to do is lock onto your target and command the device to shoot. Quite easy.
Thanks.
You're quite welcome. Now that our dealings are concluded, please allow me to deliver the crate to your shuttle. If you will follow me.
They followed the alien back through the main docking tube and entered the docking hangar. Alzygo was too tall to comfortably enter their shuttle, so he passed the crate to Bulko, who held it without apparent difficulty.
It was a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I look forward to your return.
Thanks.
Nori said lamely. She was definitely not the expert. Everyone strapped back into their places, and Nori started the launch sequence. The shuttle lifted off gently and exited the station through the giant space door. The blue and brown orb looked peaceful through the monitors, unperturbed by the events that took such a high toll on the creatures that call it home. The navigator's fingers blurred across her console.
Next stop, Earth.
Chapter 8. Sheltered Existence. The streets of the city appeared below as the small shuttle broke through the clouds.
So, what's our game plan?
Bulko asked.
First, we're dropping you off at the freighter.
Nori said.
Use the components we found in storage, and try to come up with a cartridge design that will fit our normal weapons.
What about the zappers?
We need to hand them out, but aside from us, Martin is the only one who's gained a level and can use them. We could initiate a few folks with our Pytech, but we only have 2,000 left, and I think we'll need it to buy more supplies later.
My crew has 4 people who are level 1. We can arm them and send them to hunt low-level warped to extract more Pytech.
That's a good idea.
Lana said.
And we shouldn't use the Pytech for level ups. The first time a level 0 extracts tech, they have an especially high extraction rate. Remember when we touched the alien pilot and we got half his tech? Or when Martin got 4 levels at once? When I was alone with Alzygo, he told me that in some cultures, hunting warped is considered a sort of rite of passage. The young achieve adulthood by gaining several levels without having to spend money on it. We should do the same. It's dangerous, but it's way more efficient than spending our Pytech. Bulko, if your guys can kill a warped, they should let a level 0 person do the extraction. He'd gain a level or 2 at once.
Bulko looked at Nori with a raised brow. The tall woman shrugged at him.
Told you so.
You got a head on your shoulders, girl. Yes, that's exactly what we'll do. I have 8 men in total on my crew. I'll put them hunting the low-level warped and get us some more Pytech.
We're nearly there,
Nori said. The monitors on the center dais showed the broken street outside, and the large, scorched freighter came into full view. Nori pressed some buttons and narrowed her eyes in concentration.
Hold on tight. This might be a little rough.
What are you— Ah!
She didn't get to finish the sentence. Like a bullet shot in reverse back into the barrel, the shuttle plunged into the larger ship's launch chute. It stopped so abruptly in its docking spot that even the inertia dampener wasn't enough to prevent the passengers from getting a little rattled.
Ugh. Okay, now I see why we need the harnesses. Nice landing, kid. But you might want to slow down a bit next time.
That was the slowest setting. I think the shuttle was never meant to dock inside the atmosphere.
What are you doing?
I think we should each take one of those.
He handed a shining silver gun the size of a cigarette box to her.
It looks pitiful, but if it can take down a level 1 warped, it's still better than any of our own Earth weapons.
He handed another one to Nori and Nathan. Nori accepted the zapper with a nod and put it in her pocket. Nathan stared wide-eyed at the weapon and shook his head resolutely.
Suit yourself, kid.
Bulko shrugged and tucked the weapon into his own pocket. He took out 8 more zappers from the crate.
I'll take the Hummer and bring these to my men. I'll be back soon. What are you kids going to do in the meantime?
Lana took out the small translucent disc from her pocket.
Alzygo told me this data module would fit any tech-based technology. I thought of using the ship's computer on the bridge to learn what I can from it.
Glad you took over that one, girl. I was done with school 20 years ago. Good luck with that.
Thanks.
I'll take the rest of the zappers to the old stadium shelter. Hopefully, Martin has already brought a few folks to level 1 so they can use them. Lana and Nathan can stay on the freighter. It's safe enough in here.
Looks like we're all set.
Bulko nodded. He opened the shuttle door and scrunched his nose in disgust. A moment later, everyone gagged as a wave of foul, acrid odor hit their nostrils.
Oh, it's the alien's corpse.
Dear God, it smells like someone mixed sewage and acid together. Oh, I'm tearing up. I'll drag it outside the ship.
He left the shuttle, and Nathan closed the door behind him. He turned back to Nori and smiled at her apologetically.
He thinks we should wait inside until it's safe to go out.
The shuttle may be able to hold its atmosphere in space, but somehow, I think I can still smell the stink from outside. Okay. Looks like Bulko got it out. I won't be long. Keep the ship locked tight, and you'll be safe until I return.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Lana saluted sloppily.
While you're out there, can you see if you can get us some water?
Will do.
As she flew above the deserted street, one of the monitors flickered to life. Nori saw the black Hummer driving down a road, plowing through the heaps of debris. She increased her speed, leaving the vehicle far behind her. It was an exhilarating feeling, flying out alone in the open. For the first time since the calamity, Nori felt like her old self again. Out of reach, free to follow her heart's desires. She sighed and turned the shuttle toward the shelter. As far as she knew, she and her new friends were Earth's best hope. Her lips twitched as she recalled the younger woman's declaration of their team name. She had to admit it. It was apt. Earth Force.
Oh my god, Nathan, this is incredible!
Lana cried as she stared, wild-eyed, at holographic projections of different alien species. She pointed at a tall, humanoid creature with a host of short, fleshy bristles that covered his entire body.
This race is the Inthidlon, same as the ship's captain. Says here their bodies are highly adaptable to harsh environmental conditions, which makes them ideal explorers. And this is an Exar, like Alzygo.
She pointed at a tall alien. The specimen depicted in the hologram was without the grafted technology of the space station's owner, but that didn't make him look any less formidable.
Says here they come from a jungle planet, so they're built for climbing. Apparently, they are mild-tempered, known as a race of merchants. Ugh, and this scary one.
She moved next to the third hologram, depicting a short humanoid with a prolonged head and a lipless mouth with protruding teeth.
This one is called a Sedumorph. They're a race of shape-changers, sort of. They can only change their outer appearance. They use their ability to assume a sexually appealing shape of other alien races. They seduce their victims so they can suck the tech right out of their bodies.
She looked up at Nathan, her eyes wide.
Huh. So alien vampires are a thing, apparently.
The young man shrugged, narrowed his eyes, and continued concentrating on his console. The light in front of him changed colors, and the images on his monitors displayed alien symbols. The symbols seemed to be unfolding, displaying more intricate details. Lana was so absorbed in her new discoveries, she didn't notice everything in front of Nathan was happening seemingly on its own. It didn't matter. They were having fun. The heavy metal gate opened in front of Nori, revealing a score of guards. They were all holding guns, pointed straight at her. The woman stared coldly at the forest of barrels.
I'm here to see Martin.
Mage? It's that runner woman, Nori. Says she's here to see Martin. Get him in here?
Right.
The guards breathed a sigh of relief and lowered their weapons. Several even nodded in greeting at the young woman.
It's good to see you again, Nori.
A young blonde man said.
Haven't seen you for a week. Thought the warped got you.
Nori winked at him.
No chance, Doug. I got an alien spacecraft now. The warped don't stand a chance.
You'll never change. We all thought we were about to die when that huge one breached the wall. Then you came in, guns blazing, like a Valkyrie. Thought for a moment I'd died and reached Valhalla.
Yeah, right, Doug. You're a veritable Norse godling, you.
Were there other attacks since then?
No, ma'am. Martin said to call him if we spot any. Reckon he wanted to try his new space gun, but it's been quiet for the last several hours.
Call me for what now?
Martin appeared behind the second barrier.
Nori, you're back. Got any more alien guns?
Actually, yes.
She got up from the crate she was using as a makeshift stool and opened it, revealing the shiny silver zappers.
9. Brand new alien weapons and some spare power cells. Here.
She threw him one.
I brought one for the disruptor, too.
Amazing.
He picked up one of the guns and examined it closely.
Oh, those are nice, but not at the level of the disruptor. It'll take a few bursts to take down a level 2 warped, and we'll need at least 3 shooters to safely take down anything stronger. At least they have a larger magazine. Good for 100 shots. Not bad.
Well, there are 9 zappers and 9 spare power cells. With 1,800 shots, you should be able to handle even something as big as that giant warped that attacked you earlier.
True.
Martin smiled at her.
Now, if only we had people who could actually use them.
That's easy to fix. Pick out 9 of your men and let's go take a leisurely stroll.
One of the men stepped back,
I've seen what those monsters can do to a person. I'm staying right here, thank you.
Several other guards nodded and stepped back, but Doug and a few others stood their ground. Martin shrugged.
I guess that settles that.
He looked at Nori and withdrew the disruptor from his belt.
We're ready.
The heavy outer door opened slowly, and 11 people emerged onto the streets. Nori led them away from the shelter, and they passed by the shuttle.
I'll be damned.
Doug shook his head.
An actual alien spacecraft. And you can really fly that thing?
Some of your guys may also be able to. We just need to get them to level up first.
She continued leading them away from the shelter.
Where are we going exactly?
One of the women asked, throwing nervous glances to the side.
This should do?
Nori pointed at an abandoned van at the side of the road. She bent slightly and jumped. Her tech-enhanced muscles carried her higher than she could ever reach on her own, and she landed softly on the vehicle's roof. Everyone stared, mouths opened wide, but their jaws dropped even more as a second figure jumped to stand next to Nori.
Those attribute increases come in real handy, don't they?
Martin smiled and set down the crate he was carrying.
I didn't realize leveling up could make us this powerful. So, now what?
I guess we make some noise.
Are you crazy?
One of the men on the ground yelled in outrage.
You'll draw in the warp! That's sort of the point, Mage.
I see one!
A woman exclaimed, pointing a shaking finger at a faraway boulder. A cat-sized creature that was a mass of flesh and jagged metal appeared behind it. Noticing the tasty human morsels, it stopped and hissed. 2 eye stalks popped up from the mass of metal and glared at them.
Warped. Level 2.
Damn, you're ugly,
Martin said, and aimed the disruptor. A blue ray shot out and hit the creature dead center. It screeched once, then fell as a jumbled heap of cooked flesh and molten metal.
Doug, why don't you do the honors?
Martin said, gesturing at the corpse with his gun. The blond man blanched, but braced himself. He approached the corpse and gingerly touched it with the tip of his boot. A soft glow streamed out of the warped and into him. The rest of the crowd watched Doug as he stood motionless for a whole minute. Then he shook himself and went back to the group.
Nice one, Doug. Here, catch!
He took out one of the silvery zappers and threw it at the man.
I'm a level 1 technician. Not exactly the sort of thing that's good at shooting a weapon.
Doesn't matter. You're level 1 now, which means you can use it. Just point and shoot. Here comes another one.
One of the tentacled dog warped approached them next.
Warped. Level 4.
Come on, Doug. You can do it. Take your shot. If you miss, I'm backing you up.
Doug held up his zapper and fired. The gun spat out a short green bolt of energy. It hit the ground a meter away from the monster.
That's all right. Try again,
Martin said, never breaking eye contact with the monster. Doug's hand shook as he fired again and missed. 2 more shots hit the ground, but the third one caught the warped on its flank, leaving behind a scorched patch of flesh. Nori raised her arm. A dart formed on her mounted launcher and shot forward. It hit the warped and collapsed its lungs into a smoking cavity. Martin patted her shoulder and looked down at the flustered technician.
Not bad, Doug. We'll work on your aim. Caddy, you're up next.
One of the women, a double-barrel shotgun strapped to her back, approached the dead creature. After the light show had ended, the woman returned with a smug smile.
Sharpshooter, level 3.
Excellent,
Martin said, throwing her a zapper. They waited almost half an hour before a third warped came to investigate the noise. This time, it was a level 2 creature. Martin let Caddy shoot at it, and she fired several times. Each shot hit the monster at a sensitive point until the fourth one finally brought it down.
Good job. Juarez, you're up.
A small Latino man approached the slain monster and absorbed its tech, becoming a level 1 machinator and duly receiving his own zapper. They stood there for hours, luring in the warped and killing them one after the other. The strongest were 2 level 4 monsters, but Martin effortlessly killed them with his superior weapon. Nori noticed that the shelter's leader seemed to know which of his men were combat material, as everyone he called to claim a higher level warped received a combat-related path. The others who held more artisan-typed paths were all level 1. It might not have been the most efficient method. Martin already knew it was possible to share tech with everyone in the party, but he was intentionally segregating his people, letting them claim a separate kill. Nori approved. Martin was a competent leader and knew exactly what he was doing, investing more in those who could fight. After all, at this stage, brawn was more important than brain. Once survival became less of a pressing concern, they could put their sights on rebuilding their society. It took them longer to attract the warped than she'd expected. Normally, the monsters were everywhere. Nevertheless, it was a much more cheerful and confident party of people that returned to the shelter 3 hours later. 3 more guards received combat-related paths, and Mage, true to his name, received a somewhat ostentatious-sounding path called Infernalist.
Good job, everyone,
Nori said, nodding at the people as she saw them through the heavy gate.
You're not coming in? It's gonna be dark soon.
No, got things to take care of. Now that you guys can take care of yourselves, there are other shelters that need my help.
What you did for us, it's unbelievable. You gave us hope.
He remained standing next to her as the last of his men passed through, and he lowered his voice.
But those zappers won't hold us for long. They were like mosquito bites to the larger warped, and they'll probably run out of juice in a week.
Yeah, I know. This is just a temporary measure, something to help get you started. Now that a bunch of your people have leveled, you need to find a way to leverage that. Maybe some of the new paths can be used to strengthen your defenses. Mine let me fly alien ships. Who knows? Maybe one of your guys can build futuristic turrets?
That would be a welcome addition. We might, as you say, make it on our own, but we might not. I'd sleep much better knowing you had our backs.
My friends and I are working on a plan to help more survivors. If we succeed, it might be enough to help safeguard every shelter in the country, but we'll need your help with that.
Anything I can do, just say it.
I need some water, and the Pytech your men took off the warped bodies.
The Pytech? Why?
I'd rather not say right now. It might cause problems if it becomes common knowledge, but trust me, it's important.
Okay, I trust you. I wouldn't be alive without you.
He took out a handful of the teardrop-shaped objects and handed them to her.
Thanks.
Nori concentrated, feeling the Pytech shifting on her open hand. The 9 pebbles wobbled like drops of water and merged into a single solid tear.
Pytech, 2,700.
Whoa!
Just a taste of what it can do.
Martin pointed at a stack of jerry cans.
These are filled with clean water. Take as much as you'd like.
Thanks. I'll see you later.
The shelter's heavy metal gate banged closed behind the navigator as she carried her cargo back to the shuttle. Lana frowned as she continued studying the asymmetrical geometric shape hologram.
Ugh, that doesn't make any sense!
Nathan looked up from whatever he was doing with the ship's controls.
Oh, sorry, Nathan. I didn't mean to startle you. It's just that this so-called null tunnel method of achieving faster-than-light speed makes no sense. It's not a wormhole or space folding. So how else is it possible to cross any distance while standing in place?
The young man simply shrugged at her. A beeping dot appeared on the giant wall monitor, and the young woman's fingers ran over the light console, zooming in on it.
It's the shuttle. Nori's coming back!
A moment later, the entire freighter shuddered as the shuttle docked. Lana stifled a yawn and stretched. She beckoned Nathan, and the two walked over to the living quarters to greet Nori. The navigator emerged from the shuttle bay, carrying 2 large water containers. Her eyes darted around, taking in her surroundings. Then she offered the 2 students a faint smile.
Hey guys, was everything all right while I was gone?
Yep. No new warp appeared. I learned how to access the ship's external cameras so I can keep an eye out for them, and I've been going over the data Alzygo gave us. Volko got back a while ago and has been locked up in the engine room ever since. Ooh, is that water? I'm kinda thirsty. Isn't it weird there's no kitchen in this ship?
Nori blinked at the suddenly chatty woman.
Yeah. I brought some water like you asked. Even got a few energy bars in case anyone got the munchies.
Sorry if I'm blabbering. I tend to do that when I'm tired. I've been standing in front of the monitors for hours. What kind of twisted alien forgets to add basic comforts like chairs? I'd even settle for a bar stool at this point.
We should all get some sleep. It's been a long day. I just want to grab a quick word with Volko first, and...
I'm right here. Felt the shuttle touch down. How did it go?
Not bad. Gave the remaining zappers to the old stadium and helped them level up a bunch of their guards. They're in good hands. Martin knows what he's doing. They should be able to hold out on their own for a while longer.
That leaves the Grand Mall and Lou's Yard for us to check out. We should go to them first thing tomorrow. If another level 6 warped shows up, they'll be defenseless.
Does that mean you got the new cartridge designed to work?
Not yet. But I've been making progress. I'm going to work on it through the night and make a bunch of prototypes. We could test them while we scout out the other 2 shelters. What's the status with the shuttle cells?
64%. Flying it inside the atmosphere drains them more quickly, it seems.
If we're out of other options, we can drain the ship and recharge them using the emergency power. All right, I'm going back to work.
You'll be alright staying up all night?
I'm not a kid anymore, kid. My growth won't suffer if I miss a night's sleep. See you all in the morning.
The 3 remaining companions looked at each other with weary eyes. They spread out, each claiming a bunk.
Hey, it's pretty comfortable. They don't know chairs, but at least these aliens know how to build a proper bed.
Nathan smiled and his eyes started closing almost as soon as he lay on his own bunk.
I'm going to sleep so well tonight. Okay, yeah, it's an alien bed and an alien ship, but we know for a fact the warp can't get in, so it's safe. Oh, hey Nori, I forgot to tell you. I went over the data Alzygo gave us. You wouldn't believe the weird aliens that exist out there. There are little green men, space vampires, and even—
Lana. Good night.
Right. Sorry. Good night.
Nathan's sleep was haunted, as always. He looked on, impotent to help, as again and again men and women were torn apart by the vicious monsters. He felt their helplessness. The horror in their eyes stalked him. As he watched the warped exterminate humanity, some small part of him reached out to them, to the monsters. He could feel them moving, hear the voice that drove them as they answered their basic calling. A calling he felt as well. Something inside him screamed at him to surrender, to allow a force greater than his own to take control, to take his fear and pain away. But Nathan resisted. He would not become a monster. He would not surrender to the tech. Chapter 9. Diamond.
Morning, sleepyheads!
Where's the...
Whoa, easy there. I'm cool.
Oh. It's you.
Nori rubbed her eyes with one hand, the other one still pointing at the large engineer.
What's going on?
Lana sat up in her bed and rubbed her own eyes. Nathan rose and yawned silently. He could barely remember his dream, but what he did remember left him feeling uneasy. He looked up curiously at the 2 standing people. Nori suddenly realized she was still aiming at the large man and lowered her arm. The dart reabsorbed into her bracer.
Sorry about that.
Nah, my bad. Should have known better than to poke a sleeping puma.
He grinned, showing his large white teeth.
Anyway, I thought you'd be interested in something.
He proudly held up what looked like a standard cartridge with a blue light at the tip of the bullet.
Ooh, let me see.
Lana took the offered round.
22 caliber tech-infused cartridge. Prerequisite met. Level 0.
Nori walked over and inspected the item.
Good job, Bulko. But do you think it'll be enough to take down the higher-level warped?
He grinned at her.
Those cartridges would match a wide variety of assault rifles. With enough of them, shot on a semi-automatic spread, they should do a lot of damage. And if that won't work, then this one will.
He took out a much larger cartridge from his pocket and handed it to her.
50 caliber tech-infused warped buster. Prerequisite met. Level 4.
Warped buster?
Yeah, since I invented it, I get to pick a name for it. I only made 6 for my revolver and about 100 of the 22s. Should be enough to test them out. I had to melt down a bunch of the ship's broken components to make them. For some reason, using Earth's metal didn't work, but it was all worth it in the end. I even ended up with a bonus. My path score increased by 1.
We can increase our path scores by ourselves?
Looks like it. Anyway, I've prepared 3 semi-automatic rifles with a full magazine each and put them on the shuttle already. We're ready to head out as soon as you kids finish up your morning cereal.
We're not kids. What? It's been a full day since I've eaten anything, and that was only a small bowl of... cereal.
I brought some rations from my base. Should last us for several weeks. Even if we can go on days now without eating, doesn't mean we should. Eat up. It's going to be a long day.
Nori opened a case and took out a pack of jerky. She took one for herself and passed the rest to Nathan. The young man smiled gratefully at her and started chewing happily. Lana took the pack from him and stared at it gloomily.
What's wrong?
Oh, it's nothing.
Lana said, and reluctantly started eating a piece of jerky. Her eyes looked longingly at the next item in the open case. It was a box of Cheerios.
I'm not much into beef jerky, all right?
By the way, I brought those with me. 5,000 Pytech. That's everything me and my crew have collected so far.
After they finished eating, they took turns sipping from the large water container and then washed their faces.
We should look for some utensils while we're out there. It's going to be cumbersome doing that every time we want to take a drink.
What do we do about, utilities?
I didn't see anything resembling a bathroom in here.
Don't tell me aliens don't shit.
Well, we didn't find any food or a kitchen, so they might not need to.
Could be. Your files didn't say anything about that?
No. It's just an abbreviated summary, really.
All right, then. I need to take a leak before we go. I'm going outside. Anyone else want to come along?
Nathan got up wordlessly and followed the engineer. Lana and Nori exchanged looks, then followed as well. As they passed through the bridge, Lana hurriedly keyed one of the consoles and the monitors changed to show the ship's surroundings.
Sensors aren't picking up any nearby life forms, so it should be safe to go out for a few minutes.
The 4 passed through the empty cargo hold and stepped outside. The 2 men moved behind a burned car and looked away politely as the women squatted behind a second one. Lana felt exposed. Her heart beat rapidly as she imagined being jumped. But Nori was calm and composed as she did her business. She was like a rock, strong and unyielding. Lana felt safer when she was nearby. The 4 re-entered the ship, and Bulko holstered his revolver. He shrugged at Nathan's questioning look.
If it was a horror movie, that would have been the moment a warp would have jumped us. Thought it better to be safe than sorry.
Good thinking. That would have been a really awkward moment to be attacked.
He shook his head.
That would have been a good opportunity to test out the new slugs.
We'll have plenty of opportunities later. Come on, let's head to the shuttle.
They walked through the ship and entered the shuttle. Everyone strapped themselves to the wall, and Nori manipulated the controls. This time, the launch went much smoother.
You're getting good at this, girl.
Practice makes perfect.
The monitors on the central dais flickered to life, showing the landscape below.
Where to first?
I'd like to swing by the Grand Mall and catch up with Diamond. But maybe do a flyby above Lou's yard first to check up on them. It's on the way.
All right. We'll be there in 3 minutes.
What's Lou's yard? I've never heard of that shelter before.
It used to be a junkyard just outside the city. The survivors built thick walls from all the junk. It even has walkways for scouts and snipers. I've been there once before. It doesn't have a roof like the other 2 shelters, but it looks like a fortress, and the survivors can take care of themselves. The other gangs left them alone, so I had no reason to visit them too often.
Almost there.
The large monitor showed a distant image of a thick metal wall.
Oh no.
The place was a mess. Thick columns of smoke spewed from within the enclosure, and a large chunk of the wall was missing. A throng of warped moved inside the enclosure, clawing and slithering over the remains.
Dear God. They were overwhelmed.
The shuttle flew over the destroyed shelter, and the monitor showed a condensed mass of warped, snarling and brushing against each other.
What are they doing?
Feeding.
From the massive warped bodies, a head the size of a car rose up. It was a monstrous thing, covered with thick metal plates and with a huge maw full of sharp teeth and buzzing saws. The nightmarish creature craned its head toward the shuttle. Nori manipulated the controls and they sped away.
Everyone's dead. Those poor people.
That giant warped must have breached the wall, letting the others inside. That thing must be at least level 10.
Did you see the amount of smaller warped it had with it?
Yeah. I think we just found out why there have been fewer encounters lately. It looks like most of them congregate right here.
I think you're right. When I went hunting with Martin and his crew, it took us hours to find them. But what are they doing there? They already killed everyone. Why aren't they spreading out?
In reply, Lana worked her console. The image wound back, zoomed in, and played at a low speed. Now that they knew what to look for, they could clearly make out the giant warped body. It was the size and length of a small bus, and dozens of smaller warped were crawling all over it.
They're...
Lana felt her skin crawling as she saw a smaller warped jump off the bigger one's mouth. She rolled back the video a few seconds and increased the zoom. The small warped moved, revealing for an instant the item it had dropped into the giant mouth before it was gulped away. It was a human arm.
They're feeding it.
And it's growing. With all the food it now has, there's no telling how much stronger it's going to get.
It's already big enough to tear through the other shelter's walls like tissue paper. If it gets any bigger...
We have to do something!
There's nothing we can do against that thing.
We can't let it go around killing people! We can use the shuttle! Drop bombs on it, or try to light it up! Something!
You misunderstood me, girl. I meant to say there's nothing we can do against it now. But we still got a little time. By the looks of it, those warped are in no hurry to leave. They're getting cozy up in there, feeding and getting fatter. We can use the time to mobilize against them. We need to expedite our plans, make as many cartridges as possible, arm everyone from the shelters, surround this place, and blast it to bits. That won't help the poor suckers who died down there. But at least they'll be avenged.
That's too dangerous! What if we don't make it on time? What if your ammo doesn't work? What if we can't convince the people in the shelter to help us?
Calm down, Lana. Bulko's right. We were fortunate to get advanced notice. Now that we know what we're up against, we can prepare for it. Martin will help us, I'm sure, and Bulko's ammo will work. They have to.
It's still too dangerous! Even if everything works out as we planned, you still want to take hundreds of people out of the shelters and put them in the open! They'll die out there! Why not just let Bulko come up with an explosive device we can drop from the shuttle? Turn this whole thing into a smoking crater!
Because I have no idea how long that's going to take, or even if I can do that. It took me 14 hours to come up with, I'll be honest with you, an alien alloy slug with a fancy lamp on top. Making a futuristic bomb might be beyond me. My instincts tell me we need someone with a path dedicated to explosives to accomplish that, and none of my own men fit the bill.
Neither do Martin's people. Unless we can think up a better idea, I think we should stick to our original plan.
Then let's head up to the space station and get an alien cannon mounted on the shuttle!
That thought had crossed my mind too. We're heading up there anyway, so we can ask. But to be honest, I doubt it'll work. Better to have a backup plan in place.
Let's head out to Grand Mall. I hope the people there are still in one piece.
They continued the rest of the way in silence, each contemplating the troubling images they had just witnessed. The Warped were horrible creatures, but up until now, they were just unthinking killing machines with no real intelligence or purpose to guide them. The new Super Warped and its army of obedient monsters was a game changer. It was starting to look like the Warped weren't just getting stronger, they were evolving. The mood in the shuttle was bleak. If they, with their advanced shuttle, couldn't find a way to win, what chance did the rest of humanity have?
Approaching the Grand Mall.
Lana worked the console, and the main monitor zoomed in on a large, box-shaped concrete shopping mall. They sighed in relief as they saw the place was intact.
Let's get down there. Diamond needs to hear what we found, and we need several zero levels to test out the guns.
Nori guided the shuttle gently to an open spot in the mall's parking lot. As they started their descent, the shuttle hull started giving off low metallic pinging.
What's going on? What's that sound?
I'm not sure. Everything looks fine. Wait a minute. One of the thrusters just lost 10% integrity. Now it's 15. What the hell?
Bulko unhooked himself from his harness and opened the door. He reached out through the opening with his hand, then pulled back sharply with a curse.
The assholes are shooting at us!
His hand was bloody, and a large hole appeared below his wrist. With the door open, they could all clearly hear the telltale sound of gunfire.
They're destroying the shuttle! Hold on.
Bulko grabbed the door, and the shuttle took off and immediately came back down. The gunfire continued, but the pinging sounds stopped.
Good girl,
Bulko said, letting go of the door frame and inspecting his hand. Fine silvery threads were already visible through the blood, knitting his flesh together.
What did you do?
I put us behind one of the parked buses. Should have done so from the start. I wasn't thinking.
Not your fault, girl. I'm gonna make Diamond eat his own teeth for that.
It's not his fault. What would you have done if an alien spaceship suddenly landed in the parking lot right next to you?
I wouldn't open fire, that's for sure. Finding a parking spot can be a real bitch sometimes. It's no reason to shoot someone for it.
Come out, you green bastard!
A voice called from the outside.
We'll make you pay for what you did to us!
Here we go.
Bulko cautiously peeked through the door, then put his hands to his mouth.
I'm black, not green, you racist motherfucker! Get Diamond over here or the Warped are going to be the least of your troubles!
It's Bulko! I recognize the voice! Get Diamond!
Bulko? Is that you over there?
Who'd you expect? E.T.? You know I don't allow other gangs to operate around here. That applies to alien gangs, too. Now tell your man to ease up on the trigger. We're coming out. It should be safe now, but you might want to stay in the shuttle until I make sure everyone's got their shit together.
We'll wait here.
Damn, man. Where the hell'd you find that sweet ride? Don't tell me you know how to hotwire alien ships now.
The barricaded mall was an old structure. Windows dotted the second floor, all boarded up. The place was ideally suited to sit out the apocalypse. The reinforced main gate, which used to serve as a truck entrance, opened, and an elderly, heavy-set black man stood in the center with crossed arms.
Not me, man. That would be Nori's shuttle. She's the pilot, and a damn good one, too, for a kid. Is there somewhere we can talk? I have a bunch of news to tell you, and it ain't all good.
What is these days? Sure, come on in.
Are your guys calm enough for the others to come in? I'd like to avoid an accident in case one of them has an easy trigger finger.
Everyone here is cool. They were nervous when they saw an alien ship, but they'll behave now. I didn't order them to open fire, by the way.
Didn't think you did. You're too level-headed for that.
Mm-hmm.
You can come out now, kids! It's safe!
Nori, Lana, and Nathan emerged from the shuttle and headed toward the gate.
Welcome to the Grand Mall.
Diamond greeted them, eyeing Nori's exoskeleton with interest.
Sorry about the misunderstanding earlier.
Your goons damaged my shuttle.
Diamond's large smile faltered.
People are nervous, rightly so. It's been hard, just staying alive day after day. Not everyone can fly away from trouble in their shiny spaceship.
Nori crossed her hands, though her expression softened.
That's why we're here.
I gathered as much. Follow me. I'll show you to my office.
They followed the man inside, and the guards closed the shelter's gate behind them. Lana noted the murder holes in the gate and the giant crossbeam that was lowered to reinforce it. They followed Diamond into the mall. The large open area was converted to a habitat. Hundreds of small huts and lean-tos had been built from any material their occupant could come up with. Metal sheets, blankets, boxes. It was a veritable maze of passages, but the shelter's leader pressed ahead with sure steps, often nodding to the other survivors as they passed them by. They passed on into the second floor. The place had changed tremendously. The shop windows were gone, opening up even more space, and supplies were packed in the corners and guarded. Diamond noticed his guests' looks and nodded.
At first, everyone just took whatever they needed, making a whole mess of it. One of the first things I did when I took charge was to put everything back together and ration it. Thank God food isn't such a high priority now. But people still need clean clothes, and without power, it's been a real hassle to find something to wear around here.
He gestured at another windowless store, where several men were cleaning guns.
We turned a sports shop into an armory. The warp tried to get to us occasionally, but a few gun volleys from the roof is usually enough to send them packing. Here we are.
He opened the door to a barber shop that still had its front windows and led them inside.
One of the small privileges I allow myself for running the place.
He smiled and gestured for them to take a seat.
Is to keep my own shop intact.
This is your shop? You are a hairdresser?
It's my place now, and I'm a barber. Don't give me that young age hairdresser crap. Those pansies don't know the first thing about cutting hair properly.
He looked at Nori's hair appreciatively.
Those dreads look good on you, girl, but it can get risky in these dark times. You don't want to get caught on anything when you're running away from the warped. Would you like a haircut? 'Cause on the house, your money's no good here. Literally.
Thanks. I'll pass. You might want to sit down for what we're about to tell you.
Diamond arched his brow and looked at Bulko.
I thought you were in charge. You taking orders from kids now?
Didn't have much choice. That kid nearly beat me down hand to hand, and she can fly her own spacecraft. We're all part of the same faction now.
I see. Brute strength don't translate to smarts. Bulko made sure the old gangs took that lesson to heart. Says much that he defers to you, but I'll reserve my judgment until we've concluded our talk. So, Speak up. What's it about?
First, has anyone in this shelter managed to level up?
No, and I'm quite keen to learn how y'all did it. Bulko's one thing. I watched the man rip apart a warp with his bare hands. But how the hell did a bunch of scrawny kids manage that?
I thought so. Very well. Here's the short version. The tech is an alien type of nanobot that infuses both people and technology. They're the reason we can't use any of our own tech. Not until we'll reach higher levels, at least. An alien ship crashed down, and we took control of it and managed to fly its shuttle. We learned that alien weapons can kill the warped, and we've already finished off a few. There's an alien space station in orbit around the planet. We went up there and brought back a bunch of basic alien weapons. I've already trained several people from the old stadium to use them, and they started hunting the warped in their area. You're keeping up with me so far?
Diamond's knuckles whitened as he clutched his chair, but he nodded slowly.
Everyone assumed aliens were behind the calamity. Seeing you flying that shuttle was the final confirmation. Why'd they do this to us? What do they want? Why unleash the warped on us?
We're not sure. We asked those questions as well, but Alzygo, that's the alien who owns the space station, claims he doesn't know. According to him, infused worlds go through a slow transition period that allows the natives to adjust. Nothing like what we've been through. The only good thing about the warped is that killing them is a great way of gaining tech and leveling up. You need to be at least level 1 to operate the simplest technologies. You can also extract Pi tech from dead warped, which can be infused to gain more tech, but it's much more efficient to use it as currency. Apparently, everyone in the galaxy uses it for that purpose. You might want to keep that bit to yourself, though. People might start acting up if they know how valuable it is.
Diamond closed his eyes, and for a moment, Nori feared the elderly man was about to faint. After a few seconds, he opened his eyes and smiled bitterly at her.
Aliens, space stations, galactic currency. I'm too old for this shit. I'm starting to understand why Bulko defers to you. Young people adjust more easily to new situations. You're talking like you've been born to this reality.
I do what I need to survive, and to help out. Which is why we're here.
I sense we're getting to the core of the matter. Lay it on me gently, girl.
The warped destroyed Lou's yard. There are dozens, maybe even hundreds of them inside the walls now.
Diamond's hands shook.
I thought I asked you to lay it on me gently. This is a disaster. I can't believe it. Their walls were stronger than ours.
You better believe it. There's a giant mother warped out there now, and the others are feeding it, making it grow even larger. Once they're done with the place, they're probably going to turn their attention to the rest of us. And then everyone will be having a really bad day.
What can we do? Nori, you said that alien weapons can harm them, right? Any chance to get more of them?
That's why we're here. We have a plan. Sort of. Show him the ammo.
Bulko took out one of the alien-made cartridges he had made. Diamond frowned.
Warped Buster? Sounds like it was named by a bad sci-fi author.
Hey, I came up with that name.
Stick at busting heads and fixing cars. You suck at naming things.
Anyway, we need to test this ammo. It's compatible with Earth guns, and the 22s should be usable even by level 0 people.
So that's why you came to see me. Even if the ammunition works as you hope, there's no way for you to make enough to make any real difference.
That's half right, man. I only made a few, but that guy up in space promised to help us make more. We just need to test them out first. If all works out, we'll get back with a shuttle full of ammo. Then we can all pay a visit to Lou's yard and wipe those motherfuckers off the face of the earth. So, are you with us?
It all sounds like a badly written sci-fi script to me. That's mostly your fault for coming up with that stupid name. But even if half of what you told me is true, I have no choice. I'll help you with whatever I can. There's only one problem.
Nori and Bulko exchanged glances.
What's that?
The people here are too afraid to go out of the shelter. We haven't spotted any warped lately, which corroborates your story. But there used to be at least 5 sightings a day before that. Everyone is terrified of being caught out in the open.
We brought 3 fully loaded rifles. Are you telling me you can't find 3 people willing to risk their neck for the chance to save everyone?
Well, you have me. As for the other 2, you'll have to recruit them yourself.
Get your pansy-ass guards together and I'll beat some sense into them.
I'll call them, but I need a favor. Don't tell them about Lou's yard and the presence of the Warped Mother. There'll be panic and chaos if people think they're not safe. I can't have that. We're barely holding on as it is.
All right. We'll keep our mouths shut.
They waded back through the maze of impromptu huts. 20 guards were waiting for them at the shelter's exit, exchanging nervous glances.
We're going out to hunt us a few warped. I got alien-augmented rifles for the first 3 volunteers. Who's with me?
Count me in. I'm ready to do a little monster dicing.
Anyone else?
The guards looked at each other with uncertainty, then looked away.
Really? No one else?
Bulko's voice was full of contempt. No one dared to look him in the eyes.
Then volunteering time is over. Time for the mandatory draft. Who was the racist asshole that fired on our shuttle?
Nori put a hand on his shoulder.
You're going at it the wrong way. They're scared and need reassurance, not more violence.
We can't have people refuse to fight when they are offered a chance.
Bulko stared coldly at the fidgeting guards.
In case you haven't noticed, Earth's gone to shit. I refuse to believe only the cowards survived. It was bad enough when they allowed the gangs to push them around, but now they won't fight even when faced with annihilation? Why are we risking our neck for them again?
What do you mean, faced with annihilation?
One of the women stepped forward.
We're safe as long as we stay inside this shelter.
Bulko snorted and looked at Diamond. The older man shot him a warning look. Nori moved smoothly to face the other woman.
I'll show you why. Open the gate.
The guards looked at each other, but none of them moved.
Do as she says.
Reluctantly, the guards moved to the gate. They lifted the heavy metal beam and slowly swung the gate open. Nori stepped outside and looked around, searching.
Come out, wherever you are!
As if answering her wishes, a single warped rose between the parked cars and howled to the air.
Warped. Level 3.
The guards behind her stirred in panic.
Close the gate! Hurry before it gets inside!
3 men jumped and started pushing it closed. Bulko moved to intercept and easily held it open with one hand.
What are you doing? You'll get us all killed!
Just shut up and watch.
The warped, a mostly human-looking one that walked on all 4s, charged Nori. It jumped from car to car until it reached the last one. Then it leaped, covering the distance between itself and Nori with a single jump. Nori waited until the last possible second. When the monster was almost on top of her, she raised her arm nonchalantly and launched a single dart from her bracer. It caught the warped midair, and the mutated creature exploded into chunks of meat and metal. She kicked the remains once, extracting its tech. Then she turned around and calmly stepped back through the gate. She looked at the awestruck guards.
Why risk fighting, you ask? I'll tell you why. The Warped aren't the ones who are in control. It's us humans who stand on top of the food chain, and it's time to teach those ugly fuckers that lesson the hard way!
Chapter 10. Space Trade.
Damn, girl. Color me impressed, Bulko said to Nori after they returned to the shuttle from their hunting trip. That was one hell of a speech you gave them. After Nori's flamboyant display, nearly every one of the guards had wanted to join the hunt. Nori had insisted on selecting 2, aside from Diamond, who had prior combat experience and knew how to handle a gun. The hunt had taken several hours as the warped were hard to find, but they had eventually located and killed 3 using the modified ammo. The smaller caliber cartridges performed well, killing a couple of level 2 monsters with a few short bursts, but were less effective against the level 4 creature they encountered. Bulko's warped buster came into play at that point, and the first bullet took the monster's head off, bursting it apart like a piñata. Diamond absorbed the tech from the higher level warped and became a level 3 diplomat. The 2 other guards both achieved level 2. Noah, a sandy-haired young man with a positive personality, became a gunner, while Nicholas, a grim man in his 30s, took the gunslinger path. Nori barely registered Bulko's compliment. Her hands were already a blur over her light console.
It was nothing. The important part is that the ammunition worked. The 22s might not do a lot of damage, but with enough of them, at full automatic, we can mow down warp like a bunch of chickens.
I haven't seen a warped chicken yet, and I really prefer not to. I'm sure seeing something so harmless transferred into a flesh-eating monster would haunt my dreams. More than they are now, I mean.
I think we've accomplished what we set out to do, and we've earned a bunch of Pytech in the process. There's no sense in delaying any longer. We should take the blueprints straight to the space station.
How are we looking on power? Bulko asked.
55%. The last flight up there depleted 20% of the cells, and the damage we took to the thrusters causes us to spin faster than normal. After this visit, we'll only have one more chance to go up there, assuming we don't waste too much in the meantime.
Mm-hmm. No point in wasting any more power. Let's head up there.
On it.
The monitor's view of the ground zoomed out until the plane's circumference was visible. As before, the inertial dampener prevented them from feeling the press of the rapid acceleration. Several minutes later, they broke away from Earth's gravitational pull and soared weightlessly through space. Nori pored over the console, aligning the shuttle's trajectory using the space station's homing beacon. Several minutes later, the bong-shaped station came into view. Now with experience to guide her, Nori confidently maneuvered the shuttle into the docking hangar. The hangar lights were on this time as they exited the shuttle, and Alzygo appeared before them.
Welcome back, valued customers.
He beamed, as much as a 2.5-meter tall alien with 2 jaws could.
And so soon. I trust you found the zappers to your liking?
They worked really well. Thank you.
Lana said warmly. She shot a warning look at the others and continued.
We've procured the blueprints for your fabricator.
Oh, of course, of course.
His jaws parted into a gruesome smile.
I'll take you there in a moment, but first, I noticed your shuttle has taken some damage. May I suggest you use the station's automated repair system? You may also use the recharge banks if you desire.
Wait, you can fix our shuttle?
Nori blinked at him in surprise.
Of course! I might not be able to do full retrofits, but it wouldn't be much of a planetary station if I couldn't offer that much, would it? Mind you, the automatic repair can't fix complex issues, but it should be more than enough to handle the damage you have sustained. The power banks are standard throughout the known galaxy, so recharging cells is relatively cheap.
I'm glad to see you're in a better mood since the last time we spoke.
I have thought of that. I might not have actively chosen to be your ambassador to the enlightened universe, but that is the role fate has handed me, and I will strive to do my best to aid your entry to it. It might take longer, but I'm confident we can turn things around and work together toward mutually beneficial agreements.
When life gives you lemons.
The tall alien tilted his head.
I do not understand. Are lemons some sort of bartering tool in human culture?
No, it's just an idiom. It's not important. So, you said you could fix our shuttle?
Yes. Please consult the control console for your docking bay.
Nori frowned and looked around the open and empty hangar.
What console?
The alien looked baffled for a second. Then he brightened up.
I guess that would fall under my new capacity as your guide. Let me explain. One of the basic functions of all technology is a folding mechanism designed to efficiently store away integral parts of any system. Observe.
He walked a few meters away from the shuttle and held his arm out in front of him. A column rose from the floor to his hand level, and its top unfolded to form a rectangular frame. An instant later, the frame flickered and was filled with a holographic screen. Alzygo walked back to the group.
There you are, your docking bay's console. Go on, I don't mind waiting. Galactic standard rate supplied.
Lana stepped to the console and inspected it. The holographic display was divided into several screens that showed a rotating model of their shuttle, a bunch of statistics, and bits of information she had no clue how to decipher. The left part of the monitor was labeled Docking Services. Lana shrugged and touched it. The screen immediately changed, and a loading bar with a scanning message appeared.
Scan results. Power cells at 45%. Charge 1,100 Pytech. Minor hull fractures detected. Fix 600 Pytech. Thrusters minor damage detected. Fix 1,200 Pytech.
Bulko and Nori approached and examined the screen as well.
We should definitely charge up the cells and probably fix the thrusters. I'm pretty sure I can fix the hull back at the freighter, but this looks cheap and probably quicker.
We'll buy it all, including the thrusters. I'm not keen on flying this thing with a half-busted engine.
Lana nodded and selected the 3 options.
Total sum 2,900 Pytech.
A small port above the monitor opened.
You may insert a Pytech gem as payment, or use a global galactic account. But you'll first have to open one at one of the large settlements.
Nori nodded and took out the tear-shaped gem she kept and extracted the required amount. A second gem materialized in her hand, and she deposited it inside the open port.
Time estimation 12 minutes.
Several robotic arms unfolded from the ceiling and started working on the hull, raising a shower of sparks as they patched the damaged metal. The floor beneath the shuttle glowed faintly and started sending pulses of light that were swallowed by the shuttle.
Hey, this thing even has an upgrade menu. We can install a larger power cell. Holy moly, that's 12,000 Pytech! There's also an option to add an armored layer that costs... Oh. Never mind.
What about a mounted weapon, like you suggested?
It's the first thing I checked, but the shuttle isn't compatible with mounted weapons. I guess you were right all along.
Wish I wasn't. It would have saved us a lot of trouble. Too bad upgrades are so expensive. It would have been nice to fly around in an armored vehicle.
I hope everything is to your satisfaction?
Alzygo asked, standing near the hangar's exit.
Very. I think we're done here.
Jolly good. Right this way then, please.
He led them through the docking tube back to the main deck. They walked through the huge open space toward an elevator and descended what felt like 100 meters. The elevator opened to reveal a clean white room. Metal tubes, half embedded in the floor and walls, led up to a white, car-sized contraption sitting on a raised dais.
I present to you the Fabricator.
Wow. How does it work?
It manipulates the atomic structure of the given resource to fabricate the required molecules. It's highly energy demanding, but given the proper base materials, it can create a wide variety of specialized matter, then assemble it together. Mr. Bulko, please input the blueprint to the device's console.
Bulko stepped forward hesitantly and stopped a meter in front of the machine. He raised his arm, waving it as if afraid to bump into an invisible barrier. His eyes widened suddenly. Then he confidently moved his arm to a specific point. A white pole rose to his arm and unfolded, revealing the standard light console. Volko's fingers thrummed over the keys, and a moment later, he stepped back and nodded.
It's done. The blueprints are in the machine.
Good.
Their alien host moved to the console, inspecting the data.
And the required resources?
I brought with me around 10 kilos of damaged components from the freighter. By my estimation, every kilo is enough for about 100 small-caliber cartridges, but that won't produce the quantity we're looking for. It's basically just scrap metal. You must have plenty of it lying around, right?
I do not. Trinium is usually readily available and can easily be mined, so I don't have much of it on board, but just enough for my own needs to maintain the station. Usually trade in raw materials develops organically on newly formed stations and colonies, but...
All right, I get it. We'll just head back down and load the shuttle with scrap metal. God knows we don't have any shortage of that laying around on the streets.
Alzygo looked at him, and his two jaws opened in such an obvious display of exasperation, Lana thought he was about to facepalm. Instead, he took hold of himself and spoke plainly.
Your blueprint design specifically calls for trinium alloy. It is a common resource in tech-based components. Fabricators use it as a base for a wide range of components. I'm afraid there's no alternative.
Damn it. There's always something in the way. So what are we supposed to do now? Go down and butcher the ship for raw materials?
No. There has to be a better way. Are you absolutely sure we can't compel you to donate just a little more raw material? You have so much of it. Surely just a little bit won't hurt.
She looked meaningfully at the station's walls. The alien straightened and folded his arms.
I'm afraid that's out of the question.
Come on! Your sole purpose of coming here was to get into business with our species. If we don't get the ammo we need, we'll probably all die. Then you'll have no one to trade with. No one but us four has any idea you're even up here. You'll be stranded, sitting above a dead planet. Is that what you want?
Alzygo didn't twitch a muscle.
I understand your position, but it is not accurate that no one else knows of my presence.
Nori's heart skipped a beat as she realized the alien had called her bluff. By now, everyone in the Grand Mall already knew about the station orbiting the planet. To her relief, the alien continued talking.
Hours ago, a group of people on another part of your continent made contact with me. Some of them figured out how to reactivate your communication systems, and I'm certain that they will soon acquire the necessary means to come up here. So, I'm sorry, but I must decline. I do wish to see your species flourish, but I've already given you as much as I can in good faith. The rest is up to you.
All right. Then how about we buy a bunch of cheap trinium-based equipment from you and turn it into ammo?
It is possible, of course.
Alzygo looked down at the hollow console on his arm and tapped it for several moments.
I have some spare power coupling I can sell you. They are made up mostly of trinium. By my estimation, you'll be able to create 200 cartridges from one. I can sell you them for 200 apiece.
We can't afford that. We need thousands, tens of thousands of rounds.
There might be another way.
Everyone looked at her. She smiled apologetically.
I didn't mention it before because it didn't seem all that important, but now it might be. When I played around with the freighter's logs, I discovered the last flight path it took. It originated from a place outside our solar system called Hammerhead, and made a short stop on our moon.
So?
Don't you see? The first aliens arrived here 6 months ago, and I think it's obvious they came here to shower us with tech. We already know there was more than one freighter involved, but not how many exactly.
She looked at the alien expectantly. He bowed his head slightly.
Again, assuming your suspicions are correct, which I highly doubt, it would take a small fleet of freighters working for weeks to infuse an entire planet.
See? That adds up! There was more than one ship, and if one made a stop on the moon, the others probably did as well. You heard Alzygo. It would have taken them weeks to infuse the Earth. They would have to have some sort of base to fall back to make repairs and, I don't know, take a break and play cards. What if there's a bunch of alien equipment there, just sitting around, waiting for someone to take it?
I don't know. That's a lot of maybes. How are we even supposed to get there? I'm not sure the shuttle can make it. It's a long way to the moon, you know.
I guess we can try purchasing the extended cells upgrade. But we lack the funds at the moment.
I've got a better idea. We'll take the freighter. Its thrusters are much stronger than the shuttles, and we can fit a lot more into it if we do find what we need.
Again, a lot of ifs. Even if we could somehow fix the main power core, the thrusters code got all scrambled, remember? It won't accept commands from the ship's controls, so that's a bust.
Nathan shook his head firmly. Bulko looked up at him and frowned.
What's that supposed to mean?
The young man lowered his head timidly.
Nathan, you did it? That's amazing!
What's going on?
Nathan fixed the ship's systems! He says he rebooted everything and started something called Slow Adaptive Reintegration Matrix. So, we're good on that front.
You got all that from a single glance and a shifty foot?
Yeah.
But that makes no sense.
Bulko.
Nori put a hand on his shoulder.
If Nathan says he did it, I believe him. I would have been dead twice if it weren't for him. So we just need to fix the main power core right now, right?
Yeah, but as I told you, it's unfixable. The entire casing needs to be replaced.
I remember. I also remember you saying that unless I have the number of an intergalactic space part shop that delivers, it can't be done. Well, it doesn't exactly fit that description, but I think it's pretty close. Alzygo, any chance you have in stock a casing for a power core of...
In Thidlon Standard Type 3 power core.
As a matter of fact, I do. That type of power core is quite common.
Yes!
Hold on. Are you guys seriously suggesting we go crashing some unknown alien's secret base?
He sized up Alzygo's imposing form.
If there's even someone there, those guys are probably not pushovers, and I doubt they'll be happy to see us.
Aside from the 2 ships that had recently landed on your planet, I haven't detected any other vessels in the system. It was weird. They both declined my communication attempts.
See? Just the 2 ships were here. The place is abandoned. We can just waltz right in.
Of course you can. The moon belongs to you humans, after all.
It does?
But naturally. Your people were the first species to lay claim to it. There's a beacon clearly marking and claiming it as your own. Even if you hadn't marked it according to galactic laws, absent local enlightened life forms, a moon belongs to the inhabitants of the planet it orbits, and can only be claimed by another via trade or conquest.
That's reassuring, I guess.
So you're saying that according to the law, we're basically the landowners and can kick out any non-human who might be there?
Yes. However, I would advise caution. Your current technology is far behind the galactic standard, and you have no active human base to cement your claim. Any enlightened species who chose to come here would have its own agenda, and I doubt they would take kindly to being kicked out, as you put it. That said, I reiterate, I have detected no active ships in this system for some time now.
We'll risk it then. It's bigger than just a resource grab mission. Any alien technology they might have left behind could be a huge asset in our struggle to survive.
It's settled then. We'll take the freighter. So we'll need that core chasing after all. How much do you want for it?
A pittance, miss. 50,000 Pytek.
50,000?
Alzygo held up his arm.
Please believe me that this is a bargain price. I recognize the urgency and your need, so I am doing my best to help. 50,000 would barely reimburse me the cost of materials and maintenance.
Lana looked at Nori expectantly. The taller woman shook her head.
We don't even have a fifth of that. And what we do have was gained by the efforts of several groups. Now that it has gotten harder to find lone warped to hunt, it could take us a long time to gather that much. Assuming, of course, the horde at Lou's Yard doesn't suddenly decide to leave and swarm the rest of the shelters.
A warped horde?
Alzygo's eyes glittered.
What an excellent harvest opportunity. Tell me, do they have a brood mother?
A what?
When a warped reaches level 10, it can sometimes transform into a brood mother. A brood mother is an intelligent specimen, capable of drawing in and directing the lesser warped. Brood mothers are highly valuable hunting targets, as it's possible to extract a significantly larger amount of Pytech from their bodies. They also drop essence cores, which can serve as a component in extremely advanced technological branches, and therefore worth quite a lot. You'll have no shortage of funds should you kill one and its horde. I'm sure of that.
How hard is it to understand? The entire point of us being here and considering going to the moon is so we can kill those sons of bitches.
Please, excuse our engineer. He hasn't slept much lately. He does have a point, though. We first need the casing if we want to have a chance to hunt down this brood mother. Is there a chance to come up with some sort of other form of payment?
Of course. I understand. I am well aware of your intention and was beginning to suggest a possible solution when your engineer started cursing. You want to fix your freighter to reach the moon. For that, you'll need the core casing, of course. But that's not all. If you're planning on going outside the ship, you'll need spacesuits, communications devices, and possibly a multi-purpose land vehicle to move around. I can offer all of that, and at a very affordable price. I understand the cost surpasses your current means, but should you succeed in your mission, you would have no issue paying me back.
Are you just going to give us everything we need and trust us to pay you back later?
Alzygo craned his neck as he looked at her.
Of course not. I'm a merchant. I run a business, not a charity. I'm offering to give you a loan to buy everything you need. A loan which you'll have to repay within a set amount of time, along with a small interest.
All right. Sounds fair. Let's do it.
Excellent. I will, of course, require collateral. Your shuttle will do.
You want to take away our shuttle?
Bulko nearly yelled, the veins in his neck popping.
As collateral. I'm sorry, that word must not exist in your vocabulary. You see, the idea is that you loan someone money and they give you back an object of similar or greater value to hold until they pay you back.
I know what collateral means. There's no way you're getting our shuttle.
Lana looked at Nori, and her eyes darted toward the angry man. Nori nodded and grabbed the engineer by his elbow, turning him around.
Come on, big boy. Let's go for another walk.
Lana turned back to the tall alien and gave him her most charming smile.
Let's talk about that loan thing.
The shuttle left the station, heading back to the planet.
I still can't believe you agreed to give him the shuttle as collateral,
Bulko grumbled.
It was the only option,
Lana answered.
We couldn't afford all that stuff otherwise.
Nori took in the pile of equipment they carried. A box of ammo containing 1,000 rounds sat atop the large core casing that took up most of the shuttle's floor.
What's that?
She asked, pointing at a large bundle next to the ammo.
That's a sealing kit. Alzygo said it could be used to make almost anything space-worthy.
And why would we need that?
Well, you remember he mentioned we should have a vehicle to move around? I thought he had a point. Your Hummer should have no problem fitting inside the cargo hold, right? So I thought if we seal it up...
You want to take my Hummer for a spin on the moon? Good one, girl.
I mean it. You mentioned before that you replaced the engine with something that's tech-based, right? So it can run in an environment without oxygen.
You might have a point there, kid. I'll be the first black man to drive a Hummer on the moon. I'm sure there's a joke in there somewhere. Probably going to be pulled over by some hillbilly moon cop. Anyway, what's that blinking panel below the kit?
That's an anti-grav carrier. Sort of like a futuristic wheelbarrow. I thought it would come in handy, seeing as we're looking to move around a large volume of resources.
Good thinking. I'm a little surprised that's all you bought. I was sure you were going to leverage that loan for all it was worth.
But I did. It will take Alzygo a little while to collect everything, so I arranged for us to pick it up on our way to the moon.
Really? Good thinking, kid. So, what will be waiting for us when we get back?
Well...
Lana tapped her teeth.
I bought 3 extra spacesuits. Alzygo said the one we found earlier would work for humans. 6 personal communicator implants.
Why 6?
4 for us, and I thought it would be a good idea to keep in touch with Martin and Diamond. These ones have a limited range. You need a communication tower to allow for a longer range. But the ship can boost the signal a little on its own, so...
6 cell phones. Got it. What else?
Lana seemed to lose some of her excitement.
I got us 4 grav boots so we could walk on the moon's surface.
That was some good thinking on your part, Lana. Is that all?
Well... I got another implant, a sensory enhancement one. It lets the user get detailed information on their personal view and also improves computer access.
Sounds like a handy tool. So, what aren't you telling us?
Well... it has a prerequisite. A person has to have an intelligence score of 6 to use it, and... well, it was a little pricey.
How much is a little pricey?
Lana twiddled her thumbs.
5,000 Pytech.
5,000? For an implant?
I will be able to use it the next time I level up. I already put the point from the last level in intelligence, so I'm already at 5.
Lana? Just how much did you spend on everything?
She fidgeted uncomfortably.
Including the casing, 85,000.
What?
Even Nathan looked incredulous.
That's okay! Alzygo rounded it down for us, and I talked him down on our interest. And he was kind enough to let us use the shuttle to get back.
Lana, just what sort of deal did you agree to?
It's a good one. He started by asking for a 3% interest rate, but I got him down to 1. We have to pay him in full within 30 days, or we'll lose the shuttle. That ought to be plenty of time to accomplish everything, don't you think?
All right. I guess you did good. 1% is pretty good. We'll only have to pay him 850 Pytech as interest. That's not too bad at all.
The interest, it's... well... it's daily.
What?
Lana? That's over 20,000 in total.
I know, but I did the best I could. I even got a message while we were haggling that my path score had increased by 1. It's not that bad. We don't have to wait to the last day. We can pay him before that. If we bring him the Pytech in a week, we're only looking at an extra 6,000.
I don't know why I'm so riled up by this. All we have to do is fix an alien spaceship, fly it to the moon, raid an alien outpost, fly back to Earth, and storm a castle guarded by a warped broodmother. I'll probably be dead in a week, so I won't have to worry about paying back the stupid alien's loan.
That's the spirit. It'll all work out in the end. You'll see.
All right. We're nearly back at the freighter. Prepare for landing.
Remaining strapped in place. Check.
The monitors displayed the freighter approaching fast. Then the faintest tremor ran through the shuttle, and they were docked. A message flashed on Nori's view.
Navigator score increased by 1.
You're getting better at this. I barely even felt it this time.
Yeah, my tech seems to agree. I just received the same message as you about my path score increasing.
I wonder how it works. We should ask Alzygo next time we see him.
Come on, let's unpack everything.
It was easier than they expected. The anti-grav carrier unfolded to the size of a dining table and hovered a few centimeters above the floor. Bulko and Nori easily piled all the equipment on top of it and then pushed it out of the shuttle. Once they were out, Nori input a series of commands on the light console outside the shuttle. The door closed, and the little shuttle hummed back to life. It levitated on its own and slowly flew out of the launch chute.
I'm going to miss her. A girl never forgets the first time she flew a shuttle into space.
Nathan stopped next to her and patted her back sympathetically. Nori blinked and looked at him in surprise.
Thanks. I was only kidding.
Nathan's expression didn't change, and he patted her one more time before turning to follow Bulko and the carrier. They unloaded all their new purchases in the empty cargo hold.
Damn,
Bulko said, scratching his neck as he looked at the pile.
I've got a shit ton of work to do. Fix the core, seal the hull breaches, work on the Hummer.
Nori rolled up her sleeves.
Come on, I'll give you a hand. If I'm going to pilot this tin box, I better get to know its insides.
She bent and grabbed the core casing with both hands, lifting the 100-kilo piece off the ground.
Now, where do you want me to put it?
Chapter 11. Restorations. Bulko looked at the tall woman as she strained to lift the heavy piece of metal.
Show off? Come on, I'll give you a hand.
He grabbed the casing and, with hardly any effort, held up his side.
Careful not to bang it against the bulkheads.
They carried the heavy piece to the engine room. To Nori's surprise, Nathan left Lana to sort the rest of the equipment and followed them in.
All right.
They stood on the platform overlooking the core.
So, I just need to figure out how to release the damaged casing so we can take it off. There should be a manual override somewhere.
He frowned, scanning the alien equipment. Nathan stepped forward. He gently touched the large man's arm and moved to stand between him and the edge of the platform. Reaching with one hand toward the core, the young man narrowed his eyes and let out a long, steady breath. A soft blue light, similar to those that streamed out of the dead warped, surrounded the damaged casing. A rapid chain of snapping sounded as brackets that fit seamlessly with the old casing popped open. A long hiss followed, and the damaged unit slowly lifted into the air on its own, revealing the core's interior. Colorful light pulsed rhythmically like a beating heart. The damaged casing floated toward the gaping engineer and landed softly on the floor next to him. Nathan motioned them to let go of the replacement, and once they did, it remained suspended in the air and floated to the waiting, beating core. Bulko stared as the heavy piece of metal snapped into place and was locked in by the clasps. He looked back at Nathan, his mouth opening and closing without making a sound. Then the ship came to life. Bright lights shone all around them, filling the previously gloomy ship with an intense white light. A massive tremor ran through the ship and vibrated through their legs until the rhythm synchronized, replaced by a steady, gentle hum. Engine charts and complex holographic diagrams popped into life on the previously barren walls.
Oh my god! You did it! Everything just turned back on! How did you manage it so fast?
Ask him. How did you do it, kid?
Nathan shrugged and made a motion with his hand, like a car snaking on a course.
You used an invisible car?
No, silly. He used his path. Isn't it obvious?
Nathan, can you tell us what path you took?
The man scratched his head for a few seconds, then smiled and shrugged at her.
Can you at least tell me what it lets you do?
He pondered the question, then pointed all around him. Nori looked at Lana with a raised eyebrow.
I think he can control machines? Maybe even more than that? I'm not sure, it's very vague.
Nathan sighed, smiled at Lana, then shrugged again. He himself wasn't sure what his path was capable of, as its description was a little vague, and he was mostly working on instinct. He glanced at his status and focused on his path.
Technomancer. Interact and control all types of technological systems.
Anyway, that's not even the best part. Come, I have something to show you.
Bulko exchanged a look with Nori. She shrugged at him and followed the excited young woman through the supply room and onto the bridge. The chamber, which was just an empty room with displays on the front walls, now looked different. Light consoles glowed in neat rows across the walls, and intricate holographic displays were everywhere.
Everything turned back on once you fix the core, including the amenities.
She moved confidently to stand in front of the main view screen and raised her arms to her sides. The floor shifted and grew below her, rising to support her raised arms while a bulky, full-body chair rose snugly around her.
Turns out, the aliens don't have a secret vendetta against furniture. They just have an efficient way of storing them away when they're not needed. Give it a try, guys. It's super awesome.
Nori's eyes shone as she walked to stand at the center of the bridge, letting her instincts guide her to the right spot. She barely had to lift her arms before a chair grew around her, hugging her in a comfortably secure manner. A large light console hovered in front of her, and smaller holographic displays grew around her armrest, showing her more detailed information on the ship's status. She grinned excitedly.
You're right, Lana. It's pretty awesome.
You think that's awesome?
Bulko's voice came to them from the quarters.
I just found the bathroom and the kitchen.
Nori looked at Nathan somberly and then winked at him.
I hope they're not occupying the same spot.
The young man chuckled and winked back at her. He lifted his arms and a third chair grew around him. But the transformation didn't end there. A transparent, flexible tube descended from the ceiling above him. When it nearly reached his head, it stopped, and the end split into a dozen thin fibers that whipped around Nathan's body, connecting to his arms, legs, and neck. Nori and Lana jumped from their seats, and the abandoned chairs sank back into the floor.
Nathan, what's going on?
The young man looked at them in surprise. He was so caught up by whatever he was doing, he didn't notice their reaction. He held up one arm to reassure them, and the fibers disengaged from the limb. Nori looked at Lana. The younger woman shook her head.
I have no idea what he's doing. Just be careful, all right? I know it comes naturally to you, but this thing is still alien. It could be dangerous.
Nathan smiled at her and nodded reassuringly. Of course, he intended to be careful. He could feel the ship calling out to him, her systems wide open for his control. But there was an underlying layer beyond that. An ominous, instant presence that was the tech itself. Yes, he would be careful. The young man eased in his seat and concentrated.
Oh, that was the best piss of my life,
Bulko announced as he entered the bridge and froze as he saw the state of the young man.
Holy shit. If one of those things snakes up your ass, all those crazy abduction stories will seem much more plausible.
Ugh, gross.
I hope you know what you're doing, kid.
Bulko moved past Nathan and stood next to Nori, who was back again in the pilot's chair.
How's it looking?
Not great.
The navigator confessed, glancing at the smaller displays on her left.
There are multiple hull fractures all over the ship, and the null tunnel drive is busted, as you said. The main thrusters still work, albeit at about 50% capacity. Whatever it was that interfered with their controls is fixed, and I think I can lift us off. But we can't go into space in our current condition. We'll leak out all the atmosphere. The only reason the ship survived the crash was thanks to its atmospheric shields, which are now busted, by the way, so re-entering Earth's atmosphere is going to be even slower than on the shuttle. All in all, I say, not bad for our first full-sized alien spacecraft.
I agree.
Bulko pointed at one of the small screens.
My path score is just high enough to decipher that one. It's an analysis of the hull fractures. At the current rate, it will take me 5 days to fix all the damage and make it spaceworthy again.
That's not good. We have no way of knowing how long the Broodmother and her warped army are going to stay put. They could be storming the shelters as we speak.
Actually, I'm pretty sure they're not.
Lana said from her chair as she continued interacting with her own consoles.
Now that the power is fully restored, I can access the ship's sensor. They're not very good, so I can't be sure. but I'm detecting a large warped presence at Lou's yard.
Can you show us?
Lana nodded and pressed a few keys. The leftmost main monitor flickered, and the diagrams it was showing changed. It now showed a simplified aerial map of the city. Most of the map was in ranges of blue, but several spots ranged from yellow to red. Nori pointed at the brightest one.
That's Lou's yard. See how the bright red is surrounded by a faint yellow? I think that means that the horde is still there. Most of it, at least.
So those are the two shelters?
Bulko asked, pointing at 2 other spots. Unlike the first, those were mostly yellow with a few red dots inside.
Yep. Even though my path's telling me the sensors are crap, there's still more data I can try accessing. I'll keep working on it and let you know what I come up with.
I'll familiarize myself with the flight controls,
Nori said, then glanced at Nathan's immobile form. The young man was almost lying on his back with dozens of transparent tendrils attached to him, occasionally blazing in different colors.
Nathan looks busy too.
I guess that just leaves me. I better get started on repairs or we'll never get this tub into space. If you need me, I'll be working on the quarters first.
Wait, why the quarters? Isn't it more logical to secure the engine room?
No. The entire ship is built around the engine. It branches into side shafts and even under the bridge. The quarters sustained the least amount of damage, so it should be a relatively easy fix. I thought to start with the simple stuff first, then move my way up to the more problematic areas.
Wait, that gives me an idea. If you can make the quarters airtight, the rest of you can stay there while I pilot the ship to the space station. Alzygo's equipment can patch it up a lot quicker than you can on your own.
Interesting idea. And just how do you suppose to survive unprotected until we get there? Gonna hold your breath the entire way?
No, she won't have to. We have that alien spacesuit, remember?
Exactly. I'll put on the suit and fly the ship while you 3 stay safe in the quarters. We still have over 8,000 Pytech left, and if that won't be enough to fix the hull, we'll just put it on our loan. Alzygo will have no reason to object. He'll only stand to gain more.
All right. Sounds like a plan. I can start working right away. The ship has all the appliances I need. But first, I have a suggestion to help speed things along. Nori, it's going to take too long to work on the Hummer and the ship, so why not bring in a couple of my guys? I have 2 with technical support paths that I'm sure could help with some of it. What do you say?
He looked at everyone expectantly. Nori hesitated. She was still getting to know the large man. Though he sounded sincere in wanting to help others, he had a darkness about him. He was harsh and had no qualms about killing others if he thought they deserved it. She wasn't sure if she felt comfortable about having his lackeys around. She exchanged a quick glance with Lana, and the shorter woman's frown showed she was thinking along the same lines.
I'll tell you what. Let's load up the Hummer and fly to your base. We can drop it off along with the sealing kit and let your guys work on it there. Then, while you work on the living quarters, I'll take the ship to Diamonds and drop off the ammo. It won't last them long, but hopefully it will increase their chances to hold on until we can return with a more permanent solution.
Bulko studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. He understood what was left unsaid.
That's not a bad idea, kid. I'm sure my guys can handle the Hummer on their own.
Then it's settled. Come on, let's load up the vehicle.
They walked back through the cargo hold toward the exit. Nori made to reach the light console mounted on the wall, but before she reached it, the entire back wall of the cargo hold lowered to the ground, forming into a ramp.
Nathan?
The young man smiled and nodded shyly. Nori returned the smile.
I figured there must be a way to bring in larger equipment. It's good to see I was right. You're a handy guy to have around.
Bulko got into the Hummer and drove it slowly up the ramp. The powerful vehicle easily fit inside the large hold, and the hatch closed behind him.
Plenty of room left for some good old scavenging. You're up next, girl.
I know.
Nervous?
It's much bigger than the shuttle. There are systems and subsystems I'm not sure I know how to operate yet.
You know how to push on the gas and steer, right?
The man shrugged.
That's all we need right now. Once we're ready, just point us straight to the moon.
You have a point.
Nori walked back into the bridge, and the pilot chair formed around her. She brought up the main console and started tapping it. The ship vibrated as the thrusters fired up. Then it lifted slowly off the ground. Nori inspected the small hollow monitors on her side.
She seems to be holding fine for now. I think we can take her out for a spin.
Her palms opened, and a delicate net of holographic light appeared around her extended fingers. Nori gently lowered them. The ship shuddered again, then started moving forward.
You got it, girl. Nice and easy.
Nori twisted her fingers, and the freighter curved to the right. She twisted them to the other side, and it turned left. The tall navigator breathed out a little easier.
I think I got it now. Using the thrusters inside the atmosphere calls for manual control. It takes a very delicate touch.
The ship turned around, and the 3 large view screens at the front of the cabin flickered to show the area before them. Lana held her breath. The picture was so smooth that if not for a fracture running down one of the monitors, she would have thought the front of the ship was missing and she was looking straight outside. The ground sped below them as Nori grew more confident steering the ship, and several minutes later they arrived in front of the old library building. The freighter touched down lightly on an open stretch of road. Then a violent thud ran through it, throwing Lana and Bulko to the floor.
Sorry! I forgot to disengage the thrusters after touchdown.
Bulko got to his feet and rubbed his aching backside.
Ugh. I'd appreciate it if that doesn't happen too often.
Sorry.
I'll take out the Hummer and the sealing kit.
Bulko walked toward the cargo hold. Lana approached the stressed pilot and lowered her voice.
I take it we're not 100% comfortable with him on board?
Nori shook her head, and the chair melted from around her.
I believe he wants everyone to survive this new world, but there's something off about him.
I know. It's like he's always joking and acting casually, but when he talks about the people he hates, it's like taking other people's lives doesn't faze him in the slightest.
We might be doing him an injustice. God knows he had good reason to do what he did. But I'd like to be careful, just to be on the safe side. But we do need him. He's strong and can fix the ship. And so far, he seems genuinely interested in helping.
All done.
Bulko strode back to the bridge.
What are you two talking about?
PMS!
Flying.
Lana's face turned crimson. Nori didn't flinch.
That bump didn't do Lana any favors.
Lana's blush deepened.
Ew. Sorry I asked. I'll start working on the quarters.
Don't you need to go outside the ship for that?
The hull borders only one of the quarters' walls, so I'll need to go out to work on that one. But the other parts, even the floor and ceiling, are internal bulkheads that I can work on from within. That's partly why the room is the quickest to fix.
Gotcha. Then I'll get us to the Grand Mall. I'm sure Diamond will be happy to receive the ammo shipment.
Bulko nodded, and Nori turned back to the main screen and held up her arms. The pilot chair formed around her, and the holographic controls reappeared around her fingers. She took a steadying breath and very carefully moved a finger.
Nice and easy does it.
Bulko's 2 followers remained behind, working on the giant vehicle. They looked up as the large freighter lifted off and flew away.
Man, did you ever think you'd see something like that up close?
You know I didn't. Who did?
Think the boss is gonna make it?
He has to. There's no one else who's strong enough to do it.
True.
The man squinted at the gun-shaped instrument he took from the kit.
XR sealing gun. Residue capacity, 200 out of 200.
Now how the hell is this thing supposed to work?
Nori guided the ship, keeping it on a steady course. Lana sat to her right, tapping her own console.
Everything looks clear up ahead according to the sensors. I think.
You think?
Nori said through clenched teeth, trying to maintain her concentration and keep the ship above ground.
Well, the blue dots around us don't move, and there are no red or yellow spots anywhere near us. A few of the darker ones on the sides shift a bit, but calm down once we pass them, so yeah, I think it's clear.
Sorry, I didn't mean to doubt you.
That's all right. We're still figuring out how all this stuff works. We're inside an alien spaceship, for crying out loud.
Nori glanced at Nathan, who was sitting, eyes closed, with dozens of fibers still connected to him.
Doesn't look like he's struggling to learn.
No.
Lana's expression sobered up as she looked at her friend.
I didn't know him very well before the calamity, but I think he was always sort of a closed person.
But he used to talk?
Yes, but not much. He's only 16, one of those smart straight-A students. You know, the weird smart guys everyone is impressed with but stay away from.
I think I understand. So if he was like that before...
Yeah, the calamity shook him real bad. I found him cowering and whimpering in a storage closet, and... I couldn't just leave him there!
Of course you couldn't. Why? Did something happen?
Yeah. He wouldn't listen when I tried talking him out of there, so I reached out to grab him, and...
Yes?
And something happened. I felt something when I touched him. A spark. You know, kinda like a static electric jolt. Only, this was 100 times stronger. But it didn't hurt. And since then... we've been connected. Bolka was right when he said it didn't make sense how I could understand him so easily. I think Nathan changed me somehow.
She threw a guilty glance at the motionless man and lowered her voice.
It's just a hunch, but I think he was the one who made it possible for me to take the expert path. The other two options were so obviously inferior, it almost seemed odd to have expert as an option.
Perhaps you're right. There's something different about Nathan. We never discussed the scion part of his race description.
You're thinking he's part alien?
I don't know. It's an unsettling thought. But if he is, it's a good thing he's on our side. Every time I look at him, something inside tells me that he could be dangerous.
Nathan? Dangerous? No way! He's the sweetest guy ever. But I think he has a powerful path. Too bad he can't tell us what it is.
Maybe he will someday.
I hope. He seems to be doing much better these last 2 days.
He's recovering from his trauma. I hope he'll pull out of it eventually. It sort of cancels out your theory that the tech regulates our minds as well.
I don't know about that. I don't think normal terms apply when it comes to Nathan. He's different than the rest of us. No, I think his condition improving has more to do with you, Nori.
Me?
He only started getting better after we met. You took us outside, brought us here, and gave him a chance to shine. I think he really likes you. Your presence somehow helps him cope with things he's trying to suppress.
I don't know about that, but I'm glad he's doing better.
Me too.
Lana glanced up at the large monitor.
How long till we get to the shelter?
Right about now.
They flew over a hill, and the Grand Mall came into view. Lana stepped toward a console.
All clear. No warped around, I think.
That's good enough for me.
The large ship flew toward the shelter's main gate and touched down gently. Nori flicked her fingers, and the thruster's holographic controls disappeared from her fingers. The consoles around her vanished, and her chair folded back to the floor.
Volko!
She called toward the quarters.
We're here! Lana and I are taking the ammo to Diamond's people.
All right.
The two women walked to the brightly lit cargo hold. Nori easily picked up the heavy ammo case. The exoskeleton's hum barely increased as it supported her. Lana nervously drew the zapper from her belt.
I didn't detect any warped, but it's better safe than sorry, right?
Good call.
She touched the console next to the smaller doorway, and it opened. There were no warped in sight, so they disembarked. Lana took point with her small gun extended.
Oh, wow,
she said as she turned to look at the freighter. Several crushed cars protruded from the ship's underside, pressed into thin strips of metal by the overbearing weight of the alien ship.
Yeah, there wasn't enough room this close to the shelter. I aimed for the largest clearing, but I still had to land on a few cars. We should really think of installing proper landing gear on our girl.
You turned them into car cakes.
We can ask Diamond to clear out a landing zone for us for next time. Come on, let's go.
The shelter's heavy steel gate had already opened, revealing the dozens of armed guards behind it.
You're back already? And with a cool new ride, I see.
One of the men at the front shouted, motioning the others to lower their weapons. Nori identified him as Noah, the level 2 gunner who was one of those that accompanied her to test Bulko's new cartridge. She nodded and approached, carrying the ammo crate.
We come bearing gifts. Is Diamond around?
Diamond's deep voice carried over behind the guards, and they parted to let him through.
You guys are just full of surprises. Last time you came in a small shuttle, and now a ship. What's it gonna be next time, a dreadnought? I'm afraid our small parking lot won't be able to accommodate you much longer.
He looked pointedly at the crushed cars.
Not without additional vehicular casualties, that is.
Good one. No, we brought you more ammo. It's only 1,000 rounds, but we're working on getting more.
Ah, that's good news. I'll see what I can do about clearing up some more space for you to land next time.
I'd appreciate it,
Nori said, handing the crate to one of the other familiar guards. The poor man's eyes nearly popped as the full weight of the crate suddenly dropped into his arms. He fumbled, but managed to steady himself. A second guard smacked his shoulder.
You're letting yourself go, Nicholas. If it takes you 2 arms to lift something a skinny girl does with 1.
The skinny girl has an exoskeleton that boosts her strength.
Nicholas saw Nori's astonished look and smirked at her.
I used to read and watch plenty of sci-fi, so I recognize an exoskeleton harness when I see one.
That's a handy tool.
Diamond stepped forward to take a closer look.
Any chance we can get a few of those? Will be a big help in organizing everything around here.
It's possible, but we'll need Pytech. Have you collected some more?
Nah, you left us with less than 20 rounds, so I didn't think it was prudent to go out hunting. No warp approached us since your last visit either.
Yeah, what's up with that?
One of the women guards grunted.
They used to claw at our walls at least twice a day, but in the last few days we barely caught a glimpse of them.
Diamond shot Nori a warning look before shrugging at the woman.
I guess we got lucky.
About time luck starts working in our favor.
A third man grunted.
Now that we have Nori's gift box, we can take some of the boys hunting.
Noah grinned.
What do you say, boss? I'll think about it.
We can use all the Pytech you can give us.
Lana said.
The ammo doesn't cost much to make, but it does cost. Every little bit helps.
I'll see what I can do. You two want to come inside?
Nori exchanged a look with Lana.
I guess we can come in for a bit, but we can't stay for long. Gotta drop by the moon soon.
Several of the guards started laughing, but stopped as they realized Nori hadn't even cracked a smile.
You're serious?
That's why we got this big tub working again.
I see. Well, come on in then.
Just a second,
The navigator replied.
let me tell Bulko.
God, you motherfucking panel can just...
Bulko, we're going into the shelter for a while as Diamond's guests. You want us to bring you something to eat?
Might as well. This thing's gonna take a little longer than I'd thought.
How much longer?
Normally, I'd say about half a day, but I'm pretty beat already from pulling an all-nighter working on the cartridges. I'll finish up the interior in a couple of hours, then I'll have to crash for the night. I'll start working on the outer hull first thing in the morning, and hopefully finish it up before noon.
Ah.
Hey, I'm not too happy about it either, but I don't want to rush it. Unless, that is, you want the hull to breach while we're in space.
Okay, I get it. Anything we can do to help?
Just bring me something hot and greasy to eat when you get back.
Will do.
The tall woman went back into the shelter and joined the others in the shelter's communal mess hall for a light dinner.
I think I'll get back to the ship before it's too dark.
Lana said after Nori filled her in on the intended delay.
I want to keep reading up on the alien technology and learn how to operate the ship's internal systems.
That might not be a bad idea. I still don't know what half my flight monitors are there for. I should probably take some time to figure it out.
Once they had finished eating and parted warmly from the shelter's residents, they returned to the ship. They found the engineer spread eagle on one of the beds, snoring loudly. He was still sweaty and dirty and hadn't even bothered taking his boots off.
Aww. Do you think we're working him too hard?
It can't be helped. We need the ship spaceworthy ASAP. And right now, he's the only one who can do it.
I think I'll go get some coffee beans from Diamond. He's earned that much.
Good idea. While you're at it, see if you can get us a few plates and utensils. The ship's folding kitchen isn't exactly stacked.
Will do.
And be careful. The guards should be keeping an eye out, but it pays to be vigilant.
Got my zapper right here.
She patted her belt.
And if any warp try to get in my way, well, I'm probably going to throw the gun at them and run away.
Good plan.
They spent the major part of the night studying the ship's systems and experimenting with its different controls. Bolko woke up shortly before sunrise, and his nostrils flared at the rich aroma.
Is that coffee I'm smelling?
Yep.
Lana smiled at him and put a steaming mug in his hands.
I brought some from Diamond Stores. You've earned it.
We ran out of the stuff months ago. If I'd known the old man kept some in storage, we'd have raided the shelter ages ago.
He joked. At least, Lana hoped he was joking.
I also got a plate with some canned goods ready for you.
The young woman pointed at the raised kitchen counter nearby.
Help yourself.
Thanks.
He frowned.
Didn't you sleep?
The others and I stayed up for most of the night, running diagnostics and poking our noses around the ship's systems. There's so much to learn in so little time. We slept a few hours, but there's so much more to learn that we didn't want to waste time oversleeping.
I didn't have much of a choice about it. Forcing damaged bulkheads back into shape is a tiring job.
Lana raised both hands.
Hey, I'm not complaining. None of us has a clue how to do any of that.
And don't you forget it. Oh, that's the stuff. All right, I'm awake. I'll go work on the outer hull next. Keep an eye out for me, will you?
Can do.
Lana said cheerfully and turned back toward the bridge. The hours flew by. At noon, the engineer returned to the bridge, followed by Diamond.
All done. The living quarters are airtight and should have no problem withstanding the vacuum of space.
Good job,
Nori said, getting up from the pilot's chair to face the shelter leader.
Diamond?
My men told me Bolko finished fixing your ride, so I just came by to see you off to the moon. I almost can't believe I just said that. These are weird times.
Tell me about it.
You still haven't told me why you want to go up there.
The ammo. We're hoping to find some leftover alien scraps so we can make more of them.
What if you can't?
Nori gave him a steady look.
Then we'll figure something else out. In the meantime, stay safe. We'll try to come back with more ammo as soon as possible.
The man nodded gravely and offered his hand.
Good luck, kids. I've got a feeling you're gonna need it.
The guards looked up as their leader came out of the spaceship. A moment later, the ship shuddered to life, then rose up slowly. It remained hovering for a few seconds, then shot out like a bullet, disappearing behind the hill's curve.
Those guys are something else. Think they'll be able to deliver, boss? I really hope so, son. For all our sakes.